Boom. Boom. Boom.
Hello and welcome back to the Pop Tab Podcast, the podcast that's as sweet as soda for breakfast. I am one of your hosts, Brent Kruscke, the upholder of the unpopular opinion, and joining me today, as always, is the ghost host, Jacob Stokes.
Boo.
I want you to know that Alec let me know that was very clean audio-wise when he was listening to it. He's like, it sounded so good. I was
Really?
like, perfect.
I did it last time, and I feel like having the empty. I thought it was root beer. I just smelled it. It's Mountain Dew, which
It's very different.
you ever had that? You think as a kid, you think you go to drink milk, but it's orange juice, something like that, and you're like, ugh, you just get stunned. I just had that stun of like, what's wrong?
I didn't have that, but I had. I was in high school. I was at a basketball game for a high school basketball game.
Sure.
And we were all hanging out. And my friend's like, "Oh, here, hold this real quick," and she gave me a Coke bottle. And I was like, "Cool."
Ooh.
And I took a swig of it, and I went. And she's like, "Did you drink that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "That's like 80% rum."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I went.
Oh.
I was not prepared for that.
I got even worse. I did something like that with a can in Dad's truck when I'm 10, and it was tobacco spit. It was just like, it was heavy with it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought the soda was full.
Whoa.
I vomited, but because I actually drank it, I vomited like hours later. I didn't vomit immediately because I didn't want to puke. I was like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I had no choice. So like hours later.
I think one of the big things you
terrible.
learn growing up is sometimes it's just better to puke it out and get it over with.
Yeah, which I'm that guy. I'm that way now.
Right? Yeah.
I'm that way.
It's like almost like a step into adulthood is we all realize it's just better to let it out and be done.
Because you're gonna get the flu when you're a kid. You're gonna end up puking. But when you feel sick, you got the tummy ache. You puke, you feel better. Which of those feelings is stronger? The hate for the puke feeling or the relief of the I just puked and I feel better? And for me, the relief is better.
Far better.
So I'm just let's do it. I'm not happy to puke. I don't like doing it.
You're not like
But I-
Steve-O who
but I will-
can do it on command.
Yeah.
But there you
exactly.
go. But
Yeah.
it's just better. I think one of the worst things I ever feel is when I'm not feeling well. I don't know, and then I'm like, you know what? I just feel bad enough. I'm gonna go try to puke, and that'll make me feel
And then you
better.
can't.
And then you just sit at the toilet or
Just
wherever. And you're
heave
just like,
in front of a bowl.
God damn it. I just am sitting in the bathroom now, not feeling well, and I can't throw up, but I want to throw up. But at the same time, you don't want it. It's awful.
I think I can get myself there though. I couldn't like right now.
Right.
But if I'm already feeling sick enough, I think I can mental my way into, because I've almost puked watching movies before, right? So I'm like, I can just get back to that spot, and then just like it pushes me over the edge, actually feeling sick.
For me, it's actually if I'm there and I like clean the toilet and use like certain cleaner spray, like that smell. I'm like, oh, I'm in the bathroom. I'm close to the toilet. I'm here to throw up. It's like my body's like almost taught to then now throw up because I'm smelling it. I'm like taking it in.
That's interesting.
I don't know what it was or when in my childhood or whenever that I was just like, I was next to clean toilets and I threw up, but it's like triggering.
Did your family did you have a puke bucket growing up?
No.
No. We had oh, you're feeling sick, but you're going to bed, take this. But it was the same bucket.
Always?
It was, yeah. It was a, I'll say Dean's. I don't remember the actual brand, but it was a like party-sized vanilla ice cream pail.
That makes sense.
But it was just, of course, empty.
Yeah.
But we had that my whole life, and it was like used to like hold things in whatever broom closet kind of thing we had.
I think we just had an extra just big pot. But my mom does all the baking, so she has so many pots. That was one that was never used, but it was just extra.
Well, this
from
one
what
was
I
just used
remember.
for storage, and then also it's like being an adult now. You can just clean it. Just clean it.
Yeah.
Just rinse it out and then soap.
Yeah.
You're good. But
Quick little spit.
yeah,
spit
it was
shine,
just
you're
like,
good to go.
oh, you're sick. Take the puke bucket. Is
puke
literally
bucket.
what we called it. Take the puke bucket.
Oh.
And it was an ice cream container.
I
It
feel
didn't
like
do anything to ice cream.
No?
Not
Okay.
one single thing. Because it was in my mind. I never saw it with ice cream.
That's fair.
So it didn't fill.
That makes sense. We used a gallon ice cream tub too. There you go.
There it
Bethany's
is.
there.
Maybe it's got something to do with God.
Maybe. With God. Oh my God.
Maybe it's an organized ice cream bucket.
That's funny. Anyway, we're going to start off the show as we always do with a little bit of housekeeping, let you know what's coming in the streams in the future. This week's going to be a little bit shorter streams. I went long last weekend with Alec. We streamed Halo pretty much all weekend. I think it was like 26 hours we streamed. And this weekend coming up is mine and my beautiful wife's 1 year anniversary, wedding anniversary. So I'm taking probably Saturday and Sunday off to just do stuff, with her. as much as we play video games all the time, it's just like, let's just have a day that's us. And also a day to go see her family. But there's a day for us in there as well. But I do want to probably play a little bit more Pokemon TCG Live. And then I also want to, because I saw it's pretty short and I'm really interested in it, there's a game on Game Pass called Still Wakes the Deep, which is like a horror game on a oil rig. It's like 4.5, 5 hours to beat. So it's a easy one stream kind of game. So I might try to fit that in either I think Friday is when I'll do that. Thursday I'll do Pokemon is what I'm thinking. If that switches, you'll see it on Twitch. But that's the plan currently. And then Saturday, Sunday off this week. The next week, me and Alec are back in Lasso, so get ready.
Perfect.
There's a lot to get through.
Yep.
And then we always go over what we watched or what we're playing or what we're taking in currently. So I usually come in with a lot of movies, or the last few times I have. This time I have one movie, and then you came in with a lot of movies. So we even each other out, as it were.
Yeah. Although I don't know of a time. I mean, it would have been a long time ago. I came in with just one movie.
Right, yeah. Well, I did watch a lot of stuff. It was just all One Piece. And I could talk One Piece all day, but it's not really something you review on the way we do this. So
Congrats.
Thank you, Hokie. Appreciate it. I watched Terrifier 2. I watched Terrifier 1 a while ago. And then I watched the beginning of 2 and then never finished it. I restarted all of it, pressed play. And I think after watching 2 is way better than 1.
It's not even comparable.
It's not even comparable. I think my only problem with the movie is actually I like a lot of the stuff with it. It's a little confusing at the end, but I'm okay to be confused in a movie because I know there's another one coming, or I know there's like more universe to come, you know? Mm-hmm. My thing is I'm not the biggest fan of Art the Clown. I don't think he's like fun, but not fun in the way I want it to be fun. He's just there a lot of the time. And I think the kills are good. The effects are amazing. The acting is so-so, but it's low budget. That's what I expect.
Yeah.
I bought the ticket. I'm walking into it. I know it. But I'm not a big fan of Art the Clown. So I don't know if this series will ever win me over, but I did like the direction they're going. And I'm excited to watch 3. So that's a plus. I wasn't excited to watch 2 or 3 when I watched 1, so we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, in 3, I mean, they don't close the door, we'll say, because there's going to be a 4th one for sure.
Fingers crossed musical.
It's the same thing with 3 is like, I would love a 4th one. Like I'm ready. If there was a 4th one out now, I'd just buy the ticket and go right into it. Mm-hmm. I would watch 3 again already. It's a different feeling though, because it is a Christmas movie.
So I'll watch it around
it's just
Christmas.
Surrounded by the Christmas vibe and energy, and he's literally dressed as Santa so much of the movie that it's a Christmas movie.
Okay. Not even like a question, not like where Die Hard's a Christmas movie or not. It's like, this is Christmas.
I mean, it's Christmas in the fact that Christmas is going on, but also it's the reason family's around. It's like it perpetuates the story, and he's dressed like Santa Claus.
The AC's off in here. That's what's wrong. I'm like, why am I
turned it
so
up for
warm?
audio because I didn't know.
That makes sense.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm going to click it on. I was like, man, I'm so hot.
Yeah, you are.
73 degrees in here, which
isn't actually that
isn't
bad.
that bad, but I like it chilly.
AC off, we were up into the 80s one point, right?
Yeah.
It was like 84 when we didn't have AC.
That was
Brutal.
with the store, too.
No, that was because remember we couldn't film because of the ice packs and stuff. Like
Right.
cameras would have got too
But there
hot.
was a time where we didn't have AC and the store was open, and that was
like month
roasting.
1.
Yeah,
Month
it was
2.
bad.
Yeah, that was because our furnace broke or something. They had to get a
Yeah.
whole new furnace in.
Oh my god. Anyway, what have you watched?
That's all you had for 2?
That's all I had for 2. I mean, we could go into it a little bit more if you wanted, but I feel like it's a lot of talking about like spoiler things about the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I've said about this movie is I do have the feeling of, we're watching a sort of classic, like as it's playing out. Something about low budget today just feels different about low budget of yesteryear,
Yeah.
we'll say. I watched The Stuff. I think I talked about this. It was like The Stuff is a super low budget movie, but they had a couple effects. I was like, that's really cool. You pulled it off well. But just something feels more right about the acting and the lighting, and something is different. And I don't know what it is. But I can see, you can sniff out a lower budget today than you could then, or at least than I'm able to, even knowing for older movies.
I could see that.
So it's really hard to compare in that way. But I think the popularity and the money-making potential of these movies speaks for itself. We're also not in a world where cardboard cutouts at VHS rental stores are a thing. I can't really see the zeitgeist the same way, and sometimes I'm so in it, the forest trees thing of just like, I don't really know what people think. Like, I think Kind of Funny's podcast today came out and it said, "Why do horror movies suck now?"
Oh,
And I was just like, well, that's just, I mean, that's just objectively wrong, right? But like, I guess maybe standing so far back, they only saw Smile 2 and Day 1 or Quiet Place Day 1.
yeah.
And that would mean they didn't like them. Quiet Place Day 1 was fine, but I'm just saying.
I'm trying to think of.
It's,
what
it's
was
interesting
the-
because I'm like, it's funny because anyone who's like they're in it all the time horror fan is like, well, now's better than ever. We're getting more stuff. We're getting faster turnaround times. We're getting
right.
big actors, actresses coming into our genres, you know?
Yeah, it's like I think the problem is probably the horror that's thrown at everybody.
They're watching Scream 6
Yes,
and they're not watching what I'll say the A24s just to say something
Yeah, yeah.
easy, but the whatever.
or even in my head, I think of Sting
Direct to streaming.
that came out.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, it's a alien spider movie that was a ton of fun and great. But no one.
How do you
like,
watch
yeah,
Sting?
Exactly.
Yeah, it was in theaters for maybe a week.
Well, and also there was that other one because they just announced, was it Chapter 2, The Strangers Chapter 1? I think they just had Chapter 2 announced.
I think it had a trailer. Yeah.
Trailer drop. That was it. Yeah. So they and we watched the trailer for the. I didn't watch the first one. Did you watch it? No. I mean, I probably played
knowing
it too, but
because I thought they were going to cancel the trilogy, but I forgot that they'd actually already filmed all three. So I'll probably end up watching them.
yeah.
Will I do them in theaters? That's really tough. I don't know. But it's funny because it's like the substance right now is so big, right?
Yep.
Like so many people loved the substance that I'm like, man, that how it's such a weird thing to say when the substance exists. A movie that was produced and distributed by the streaming service Mubi.
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 Is it-
M-U-B-I.
O-U-B. Not
No,
O.
M-U.
Yeah.
B-I, yeah.
U-B.
You said
O-O-B.
O-U.
No, no,
So no O.
No.
No O. M-U-B-I.
U-B-I.
But they're the heady, glasses up. We do Criterion, TCM, like they do those kinds of movies. But they were just a streaming service. I didn't know they did anything original.
Is there...
And they distributed this. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but something so small breaking through so big in such a big way with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley and Dennis Quaid, right? It's like, oh, you're getting people and this is big and it's happening. But is Nick Scarpino seeing that? I don't know.
I also feel like, I mean, real quick, is there something with the UBI, like the was it the suffix with the like Tubi, Mubi? There was another one that had the same kind of thing, like
Fubo.
oh, Fubo. No, like, but I'm just like
But you had Mubi and Tubi.
Ubi is like used a lot. I feel like in apps, I see
Ubisoft.
Ubi. Yeah, I just see Ubi a lot, and I'm like, is that
Like,
something media something? And
no, because I'd say it's like it's probably a prefix to like ubiquitous kind of thing, right? Like, how does the.
I guess so. I don't know. That was weird. But we were the Nick Scarpinos of the world, if we wanted to say that, or just like the normal people. There's also a whole thing where I feel like
I'd say for horror, there's layman's that are like, you
Yeah.
can be a movie fan and not be a horror. And I'm kind of the opposite, right? Like, I watch a lot of horror stuff. I didn't see Poor Things until like a year after it released.
yeah. I also think like they're not movies, so it's a different conversation. But there's a lot of great series or limited series, and we have Flanagan making stuff all the time right now. And it's like I feel like those are still out there, and it's like, or not still out there. They are coming out right now, and we have a new Goosebumps trailer. Like the horror is good out there, and it looks great, and it is great. It is very much like if you just scroll down the AMC website and see what's there, maybe horror does suck. But I would also argue that
maybe.
probably,
Maybe. But you like Monster Summer, right?
that's too much. Summer was fun.
But who's going out to see Monster Summer?
Probably not a lot of people, unfortunately.
I also think people's bars are set, they throw the asterisk of it, but it's a horror movie. But I do think, like,
That is
I don't
annoying.
know, because Talk to Me's on my list. I rewatched it actually with Hokie. He wanted to watch it, and
What'd you think of it, Hokey?
yeah, so I rewatched it. It got my heart again. I think it was better the second time around. I felt I think I picked up on a couple more things that answered a few more questions that I had.
Oh, okay.
Like the ending felt a little bit tighter to me
Have they
than
announced
I
what they're doing
remembered.
next? That duo?
Probably that was The Wall Next Door.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I just haven't tied to it. It was funny. I didn't notice, but at the end credits, Raka Raka is like a credit. Like
Oh,
they
okay.
have like a production company looking thing, but for their YouTube channel.
That's cool.
But Talk to Me was last year. I think most people agree that was a pretty great horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. Again, Terrifier 3, like it was just officially certified. Let me go to Rotten Tomatoes. It was just actually certified. I think it was certified hot. I think they have like a new system.
Oh. I'm not going to lie to you. When you showed me the difference between Saw 10 and Saw on Rotten Tomatoes, everything.
Now
I
you
have.
just
Rotten Tomatoes is like nothing.
yeah.
It's
I
so
mean,
weird.
To be fair, I think a little piece of that is timing only. Like it's just because it was a decade ago, right?
I guess.
But there are people that go back and add to Rotten Tomato scores like today.
Yeah.
You know, I think I told you that one of our buddies has the podcast that does, he only watches and reviews 0% movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they were talking about one of their movies and they looked it up to show somebody and it was at like 2%. And he's like, we already did the review. It was at 0. What happened? So they found somebody had given this a thumbs up since they'd recorded it and the movie was from the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And they actually contacted her and got her on the podcast. Because you liked this movie. You put a thumbs up on this movie. Let's talk. I love that.
And that was the episode wasn't already out?
It was.
It was out? Do you think that
They just
pushed
went
them
back,
to
they
watch
were
it?
just talking about it. And they're like, this
okay.
was one of the movies we did. And they looked and they're like, oh, Highlander 2 for some reason is now a 2% movie. What's up with that? We found the review. We contacted the person. We got her on the podcast.
How many 0% movies are there? Are there a lot?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But anyhow, yeah, Terrifier 3 is audience score 87% verified hot. It is 75% critics, so certified fresh.
Okay.
That's a fucking high bar to hit, right?
And the audience score, that's verified people that have like bought tickets through Fandango that can vote. That's it, right?
Something like that.
It's like you've got to have a step.
It says 2,500 plus verified ratings.
Yeah, it's like a verified buyer on Amazon or whatever. It's like you did do something to put this check mark.
Yep.
Okay. And then the critic, I guess we don't know the line for
it just
critic.
says 101 reviews. I don't know who these critics are. I don't know how they get a tomato on one side versus the other.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
How do we become Rotten Tomato critics?
I don't want to be one. I don't care enough. We already think the system's flawed, right? We're not going to fix it.
We got to fix it from the inside, dude.
I don't want to fix it.
That's fair, I guess.
Maybe I could fix the DMV from the inside, but I don't want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. So anyway, you watched Terrifier 3.
Well, I was just saying that with Terrifier 3. Yeah, I think I reviewed it last week, but
okay.
It was 11 days ago I watched it. But it was with Terrifier 3. The tough thing is, like, I feel like I'm watching a classic be made, but the difference between this and Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I said Freddy the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
I was picturing him because of the cardboard
Yeah.
cutout. I was like, it's just a different climate. This movie is also like part of the draw is it's so disgusting it'll make you puke. It's making people faint. People are leaving in the first 10 minutes. You know, that whole thing. That turns off a lot of people. They're like, well, I don't want to puke.
You're right, yeah.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street.
You'll feel better,
scary,
though,
but I won't
you know? Like
puke. Yeah, exactly.
You'll feel better.
You'll come out the other side. So I think there's that. That's scary. It's also a truly unrated movie.
Oh, really?
Which is unique. But then it doesn't. It's not like it can just go to a VHS shelf and have a whole second life. Like, would Friday the 13th have been anything if it didn't have a video release? You know what I mean? That was important. I mean, I don't know how these movies would have survived. So it's really hard to do a comparison between both. But it does feel like I am watching a new. Like I always think. I know we talked about this with Pinhead. That I think Hellraiser is one of the best of the first movies when you like compare them. I think Nightmare is probably the best.
Probably.
Yeah. Scream, obviously, he became something visual, but that's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
I'd say he's not one of the classics. He's like...
Yeah. He doesn't exist without the classics.
Exactly.
So it's like you can't... Yeah.
You can't have a ghost face. But I like Halloween versus Friday the 13th versus Nightmare versus Hellraiser. I put Hellraiser firmly number 2. I love that movie.
Halloween, though. The first Halloween.
No, I put Hellraiser above it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Well,
that's the thing where I'm like, but there's something just too grotesque about it that's like too much for people that they just are like, oh, I need my classic to be comfy.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a comfy classic, but I think that the iconography of the clown, the fact that he's in Call of Duty, he's the main mascot for Spirit Halloween, the same way Sam from Trick or Treat is. You know, I'm like, is there a new visual classic that's going to just exist? And I was in the theater. There were 2 families that brought children, like 10 or younger children, to this movie, and they didn't leave. They didn't even leave to go get a snack. There were young teens that were coming in as groups. There were like, I was like, this feels.
Well, they didn't want to eat
something.
anything because they were going to puke.
Exactly.
So you couldn't get the kids a snack.
Well, but no one got snack. You know, it's just there was no. I'm going to step out and get a soda.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see that. So it was interesting, but I think there's value in that, and I'm just happy that it is pushing through the zeitgeist in some way. So,
Real quick, just because we're talking about movies that are gross and puke and effective, what's the number one movie that's has
To me?
had any affected to you? Yeah,
Human Centipede 2.
was it that? Okay,
Yeah.
I think mine.
It's only one of two, and then the other movie was The Counselor, Ridley Scott's The Counselor, for reasons unrelated to actually feeling like, oh, that's so gross, I'm going to puke.
Oh.
But more so like what happened to that woman and how this man has to watch is so like sickening to me that it was like upsetting that I felt it in my throat like I was going to puke.
That's fair.
But Human Centipede 2 was like...
For me, it is actually, I think it's Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Because I was so young, I think it was what it was.
Yeah.
But there's this scene where Freddy's a marionette, cuts himself down, then he cuts open the kid's veins and
uses
puppets
them.
him.
Yeah.
And it's just something about the veins coming out.
Have you seen the new Hellraiser?
No.
Put it on the list.
Okay.
Because I just want to... There's one effect in there that it like makes my eyeballs like fucking...
All
Because
right.
it's the same thing.
It's the veins. Oh, man.
Yeah. So what? Completely different lore. It's unattached to the original. The box has to like take blood from people and like
Yeah.
7 times until it hits its final form. Whoever's there in its final form gets a wish granted. But they either get power, pleasure, like it goes through sensations. And Homeboy chooses pleasure. And somebody from the beginning, someone from before, and you end up finding him later post box. Woo! Hard to, because it's not anatomically possible the same way holding somebody up by their veins isn't. But there's something special about this that I was just like, just visualizing the sensation of this is impossible, and it's a struggle.
I think for
emotionally,
I think it also affects me so much. I think it's why, because like obviously I have tattoos, but I don't like needles. I don't like giving blood. So anytime there's like a needle in the crevice of my elbow, is there a name for that? I don't know. The inside of my elbow.
sure.
It doesn't make sense. But my fear is they go in and they just pull up.
Pull up, and then
And then-
all of my veins
and then
went away.
the veins are just like the veins rip open. It's just like that's what my fear is like they put it in, it's in there, it's doing its thing, and then chair hits it, rip up, and I'm out. It's just I just don't know why that's
And
what comes to
I'm
my
out.
head. It's just that's instantly what I think about.
Sure.
Any other like shots, anything else needle wise, I'm totally fine with. But it's just the blood thing I just
The
can't
idea
do.
of it going in instead of down.
Yeah, I
Because
just
the down is like you're through. You're
I'm good.
You
Yep.
did it.
But yeah, going into the nope, I don't like it. I don't know
That's
why.
fine. I'm
It's
not-
crazy.
But what's a tattoo got to do with that?
Oh, tattoos are also needles. When I go, I don't like needles, and they
just
go,
start,
you
start
have
going a little too cockeyed. You're like, whoa, pull it back. Don't rip my veins up
Hey,
through my arm.
chill.
Be cool.
But yeah, I was just wondering because I was like,
Yeah,
obviously you
Human
watched a lot of
Centipede
stuff.
2 in particular, the whole movie is about a guy who watched the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to do what they did in the first movie. So he ends up like, I'm going to do a movie that is Human Centipede. So he gets the original actresses to come back, but then he puts them into a quote-unquote real centipede. And it's 32 people long. But if you remember from the first movie, the guy who did it was like one of the best surgeons in the world for unjoining conjoined twins.
Yep.
So everything that they do is like pristine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy uses like a stapler and like stuff. And you see all that and it's like, well, this is already a gross,
Visual.
Yes,
Mental
visual will
even.
say, well,
Yeah.
But then he's personally disappointed that he can't see the function of everything work. So he puts and movies in black and white, by the way. This is important.
Okay.
Movies in black and white. But he like fucking needles people. He syringes them with laxatives,
Oh.
and it is the only color in the movie. And it is everywhere through staples and stuff, and it just shit everywhere.
Wow.
And I was like, like just picturing, just so you know, I don't even want to go too much into it. It's
That's a lot, yeah.
I would be saying so many more fun words if it were just the two of us offline right now.
I think it's
But it was enough for me that it gave me the and a poor Derek, dude. I made him watch this movie because there's way worse things that happen in the movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that to me.
Right.
That was like, oh, that's just gross. I really hate seeing this.
yeah. I mean the ending of Borderlands as well, or what's the final
That
prayer?
one doesn't make me sick. That one's just scary. Like The Descent is one of my 2 scariest movies ever, and Infested. And those are ones that none of them make me want to puke in any way.
Right.
I'm not grossed out or something. It's
Yeah, I
like
didn't wanna
actually, just scary.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like just buzzing my arms, my goosebumps,
yes,
you know?
exactly.
And Human Centipede 2 didn't scare me at all. It just grossed me out. So
Cool.
I had more movies.
They're cleaning our windows, I guess.
Oh, yeah. All right, did you lock the door? Did I lock the door?
I don't know.
We might hear him come in and
We'll have to see.
get a fucking preview of the podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's what we're hearing is like scraping and clamoring. So my order is going to be wrong.
okay.
I told you I watched Talk to Me.
Yep.
And then Shay wanted to watch a movie pretty early in the evening. I wasn't feeling games. I had just done some Magic Deck stuff, so I was like, I'm good. Let's throw a movie on. And we went to Netflix. I tried suggesting a couple of like quote unquote good movies or ones that were reviewed well or whatever. And I ended up coming across one, and it wasn't until recently because this weekend I gave the family the subgenres of horror. Did I tell you I was going to do this?
Of our list?
No, just
Just
subgenres.
Oh, yes, because you were trying to
Pretty
figure
general.
out.
Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
do
yeah.
people find the scariest? So I just came up with the top ones. I didn't put in like aquatic, because I was like, shark movies, whatever. That's like so specific. So, and I did psychological, for instance, too vague.
Right.
So I did claustrophobia, haunted house, ghost, possession. Like I even split it up there. I think there was 16 options I came up with. But I was looking at those subgenres, and there was one on there that was survival horror, and my mind goes to video games.
Yep.
I'm like, you got to run and hide, you don't get to shoot, whatever. And I was like, I think that just means like the wilderness, right? So I looked that up, and it is just like we're stuck in the woods, which then I go to Blair Witch, and I'm like, no, it's not witches. It's like you're just stuck in the woods. It's
just
there's a bear out
It's
here.
like open
You know what I
water,
mean?
but that's like water.
Yeah,
But it's like
I think the movie that
the
I thought of
nature
was
is what's
it's
bad.
got Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. And I think it's called The Edge because those two are on the edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a bear that's
okay.
attacking them. They're stuck. Their plane crashed.
Gotcha.
Whatever. They're like in the woods. So it's like stranded.
That Liam Neeson wolf movie.
Exactly. The Gray.
The Gray, that was it.
Yes. So it's that.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, again, I'm not putting that on the list. That
Right,
doesn't
right.
make sense for me. I think number one was claustrophobia, by the way. I think that won.
That
for
one
everybody.
overall, like if you took all the averages.
I think so. Maybe it could have been home invasion. I forget, but we're starting from the bottom anyway. Which number, the worst, the lowest, werewolves.
I guess that's fair.
Vampires were 2 above. Giant monster fell in between them. Because I
fair.
didn't want to put monster. Because
Right.
I was like, that's a little vague. And you could do werewolf, vampires, monster. I was
Right.
like, giant monster. Think of Godzilla. Think of Cloverfield. Think even like The Host, where it's just really big.
Yep.
But anyway.
Those make sense for the bottom.
So I came across one of these movies where it was like, I think this is a survival horror. And I realized, I was like, without diving into this subgenre too hard, I think Shay would love this. She loves watching Naked and Afraid. She's watching a show on Netflix called Outlast, produced by Jason Bateman.
Oh, okay.
But it's 2 teams in Alaska. They actually wear clothes and they're, whatever, but they're given very little survival bits.
Right.
But she loves watching these like nature survival shows, like a Bear Grylls.
I love like a little staple. You have to be like, well, on this show they wear clothes.
They have clothes. They're not given truly nothing. Because
Yeah.
the other one, they're like walking around the fucking Sahara.
But they get that little sandbag or little
Yeah.
side bag, a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that they get something. That's to hide their audio, almost certainly.
That makes sense. No,
Like,
actually,
yeah, just so you can collect your berries
I'm actually,
in the desert.
I'm actually hoping that there's a whole team of fully dressed dudes, like some with like full flannels.
There
just
is,
like,
because they're being followed.
right,
by,
but like
so-
cameraman, they're all in clothes and there's just 2 naked people in front of them.
Dude, that's the thing with these shows. So we watched Outlast. I've been watching it. She wakes up in the morning and watches it with a cup of coffee bright and early. And I'll catch a little bit of it. And I'm like, man, this shit is in like stunning 4K, shallow depth of field, interview style, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, we saw 30 minutes of their day. What's the rest of their day? What do they do? How do they get this interview? And it's also someone talking about something that happened. Like, I couldn't get the paddle to work. I couldn't whatever. I lost the paddle. And, but they're sitting in the woods talking as if they just lost the paddle off the lake. So I'm
Right.
like, you're off the lake.
You're safe.
There's some, I see the disconnect. It just doesn't work for me. Or when I'm watching people in reality TV shows eat dinner and the food is less eaten, more eaten, more eaten,
Yep.
I'm like, I can't really get around the time continuity of this being like edited for me. But anyway, So we loaded up a movie called Bat Country.
Oh, okay. Wait,
Just back
Okay.
country, not bat.
Not Bat Country.
Yeah, which is the.
Yes.
Anyway, I know one.
You knew one.
I knew one.
Because
Because you know what? That song fucks on Guitar
Because
Hero.
it was funny because I was about to go into like, oh, with Johnny Depp and the movie, because I was like, that'll be more his speed of what he knows. Then you came at me with a sevenfold. I was like, all right. Yep.
Anyway, Bat Country was interesting in that they tried setting up like a relationship dynamic thing. So this one, I didn't know the male actor. There's only 3 actors in the movie. One guy who stumbles along their campsite, who I didn't remember the title of the movie, didn't want to pause it, but I wanted to go to the IMDb. I used this guy because I was like, I watched Leatherface kill you before.
Okay.
I don't know which one.
But you don't know which.
I
Okay.
guessed right away. It was one of the remakes. It's this like really long faced guy with like a little goatee on the end. He's like the bravado like leader of their group.
Not the newest one where they go and they buy the town or whatever, right? Okay.
No. It was the remake, the Jessica Biel.
Oh, that one. Okay.
So he was in there for a second, but the main actress, I was like, I know you from somewhere. She's the reason I even want to go to the IMDb page. She's from the 2000s movie called Stick It,
Okay.
where she like becomes a gymnast with Jeff Daniels, but she's like
yeah.
some fucking punk kid.
Yeah, and she gets like penalized because her bra's showing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one where I was like, why do I know you? I know your face. You have a beauty mark right here, and I've seen you. So anyway, this movie's from 2014. The relationship stuff was like, sure, this guy's full of red flags. He's the worst ever. A bear, of course, is on the brink of attacking somewhere like 3/4 seemingly through the movie. And the movie just fully sells us on the like, he's better. They got over it. Everything's perfect. And the bear attack was really well done. Like really
good.
Well. Homeboy ended up losing like half of his face.
Dang.
And his lips were hanging off. And it was like, that's a visual I've never seen before. And you go to the reviews and people compare it. They're like, I think this is a better bear attack than The Revenant.
Whoa.
Like, this is really good. Considering how low budget this movie feels, I agree. I'm like, I don't know how you guys did this.
That's
This
crazy.
is really cool. It's a lot of cuts, a lot of flashy, a lot of you can't see too much. But when he's like crawling for help and his lips are hanging off, and I was like, yo, that's a fucked effect. That's really cool.
Great.
Ain't never seen nothing like that. But then then she doesn't move. She like won't run away, which is the worst ever. She decides to grab one piece of gear before she leaves. It's the wedding ring that his failed proposal was for. And I was like, there's a hatchet, a flare. You just used bear spray. Like, there has to be something other than a wedding ring. And at the end, it was just, I missed my hubby and I made it and everything's terrible. Did not get my heart.
Oh, okay.
I was in for the first 3/4. And then it just was like every worst mistake you could possibly imagine. And it was so frustrating to watch.
The IMD rabbit hole that you went down where you're like, I got to find this guy to find this to find that. What's the most like, have you been watching something and you saw somebody, you're like, what do I know you from? What's like the most obscure thing you recognize somebody from? Because I had one recently that I had to pause the movie and just laugh because I was like, why is this the.
You're like, I know you from this one episode of this one thing.
Yeah, I know you from this one episode of Gilmore Girls where the character in Gilmore Girls makes a movie and they play that movie in the show and he's in the movie in the show. And I'm like, why do I know you from that? That is so dumb.
Yeah, I don't think I've gone that obscure before. I think mine is typically the opposite. I go, who are you? Oh, you were in this movie with this guy. Oh, this guy did this. Oh, this. And I go further. I go out rather than like, how can I pull it into where we are? I've done that with TV shows, though, where Shay watches a show and I'm like, oh, flip-flop, that's the guy from name a bigger thing that he now wants to be known for. Probably not this one episode of Supernatural. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you're doing the opposite. You're watching the big thing going, I saw you in an episode of Supernatural.
Yep, that. And then, I had the same thing, though, with Gilmore Girls because Rami Malek is in an episode. At like one point, he's like a group of friends. He's just sitting there, has like 2 lines. And I went, wow, watching. So I go the other way, too. But
That's Best Actor winner, Rami Malek.
Damn straight. In a little church group talk.
There he is.
So anyway, what's next?
So Backcountry didn't get my heart. We double featured it with something. I was like, let's go hard right. Let's just turn. Let's watch a documentary.
Oh, interesting.
And then I was like, I could probably spin this one mentally to be horror. And we watched Bama Rush.
Bama
which is
Rush.
Alabama.
Oh, okay.
And it's rushing like the sorority track of rushing a sorority at Alabama.
Oh, I could see that's horror. Yeah.
And I was like, I can twist this to be cult.
I was going to say, there's that cult
And I was like,
mentality
there's
right
something-
there.
And there was a lot of, big feelings with that movie, but it was a lot of more sighing and like almost disappointment in a way. I don't want to say I was disappointed because there seems to be something positive in this. Like, truthfully, there's something positive to it. But also, there's a lot going on. And it was such an interesting documentary. It didn't end up being the real life horror I'd kind of joked to myself I wanted it to be.
Yeah. But it's interesting.
But it was really interesting. They go into this whole thing because they had to tie it in because the movie gets threatened by it. There's like an actual secret society at Alabama that's made up of only fraternity and sorority, like individual members that govern the governance of the school.
Like the skulls
And
from that one movie?
they have a name. They're from the 1800s, this original thing.
Okay.
And they were able to find some documents and people to testify against it. So it's now like a known secret, but no one knows who they are. No one knows where they are. No one knows whatever. But they're literally called The Machine. And they have a logo, and there's like old photos of like old members and stuff.
And they've got tattoos where they
But it
poke
was
with a
like-
wand. It'll
Dude,
send up
yeah,
a thing in
right.
the sky.
Exactly.
Call them all to the graveyard. The sky.
Yeah, but dude, it was seriously like, oh, I didn't expect this to take the turn. That was like, the only reason they brought it up is because it was the documentary ended up talking. So the whole, I guess starting over.
All right.
They follow 4 or 5 girls that are planning to rush. Let's follow their journey of rushing, and that's like 3/4 of the movie. The last little bit is like the actual rush.
Hey,
but
oh,
it's
okay.
it's mostly because once they get there, apparently HBO is going to be wiretapping people, and it's going to be doing this to get the inside scoop to try to tear down sororities. Which by then I'm already 3/4 through the movie. That's not the point.
Uh-huh.
It's very much to be like, where do women find a community is like kind of the theme.
Okay.
And this one director was interested in sororities just generally. So like, let's just talk about it, and I want to hear the good and the bad from the young girls who are going into these. But then they get a threat that's just like, if you do this, the machine will kill you. Like, we will fuck you.
Whoa.
And it would turn into a whole different thing. You know what
It's
I
not
mean?
even like a legal thing. Like, hey, don't do like they don't even. It's just straight up.
because they
They're
don't
going
fuck
to
because
kill.
no one knows who they are. They're like, and then they go through all these reports of people who like, they do something to threaten the machine and they literally get like physically assaulted in their house, like almost beaten to death.
Oh my
like,
God.
Like the machine is coming for you.
That's crazy.
So the director, who is she's actually in the movie. I was like, this is the only non-Werner Herzog movie where the director is like part of the documentary.
Yeah.
You know?
or tickled.
What's Super Size Me? Where it's like literally about him, you know, without the experimentation. She ends up coming on camera because she's like, I have alopecia, so she's bald and has no eyebrows, no hair growth. So she like talks about how she's putting on a wig, and that was part of her finding comfort. And all these girls are trying to find comfort in something, and it turned into this much bigger thing than I expected.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I actually really enjoyed this documentary, and also that's really fucking scary. Like, so much of what they show, I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like,
the machine part of
the
it, or the
machine part
sorority?
of it.
Okay.
yeah, the sorority part, it didn't actually end up equating to much. It was just because I think if you end up watching it, I guess it could be a spoiler, but of the like, I think it was 5 girls, 3 of them just decided not to rush, just to not do it before they even got to school. So I think only 2 ended up like actually rushing.
Dude, as a documentary crew, you're like, we're going to follow these 5 girls when more than half of your people that you chose to follow just decide not to follow through. You go, oh, fuck, where's my movie?
You go, oh, we're about the machine now.
Yeah,
which
right?
isn't. The
Pivot.
movie's not about it. And I feel like they really only did have to bring it up because they themselves were threatened by it.
But now I want a documentary about
And
it.
it changed. Yeah. Oh, I would. Oh, my God. I would gobble it up.
I'm about to go Google it after this. I just want to know what's out there.
What's crazy, it's called Bama Rush because that was the TikTok hashtag trend. And apparently there's a whole group of people that have like a ranking system as if it's like, as if they're watching Temptation Island, one of our favorites, or watching The Circle or Married at First Sight. Yeah, that's not real.
Okay. Should I get rid of it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I can't do that here.
Slow and steady.
It's like the mouse is both like slow and jittering in my hand. It's.
Anyway, we had a band.
Yep. Sorry.
But yeah, it's like one of those, except it's girls who are trying to rush because social media is such a tie, like tied to being a good sorority member or whatever, like being active on social media, having a presence, a brand, or something, a following. You can just watch, and there's so many girls who are doing the like journey of becoming a sorority, and they're like, there's like rosters, like as if it's the Bachelorette, and there's apparently a whole trend that this was like the second year of it. So there were already hashtags, trends, picking people as their favorite characters. They used the word characters, and I was like, these are college kids. Dude, this is crazy.
Not even, right? They're about to go. They're like high school graduates.
I think of the 5, I think 3 of them were sophomores that were going to try. So there was
I really don't know how
little
sorority
bit
or
different.
fraternity works. I thought it was just something you did immediately.
You could join at any time.
Oh, okay.
Most people do it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was.
I went to community college.
yeah. I knew a few frat people.
Okay.
I still do know people who were in a frat. All the same. Yeah. So Bama Rush is like something one can just like watch now. Like it's like a TikTok thing. So there's a lot of rabbit holes one could go down regarding this rush and which sorority house are you going to get the pick, dude. The way they had to go and label so many terms and so many, it was crazy. It was crazy.
All right,
but it got my heart.
That's
my
great.
heart, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect to watch a quote unquote like good documentary. I just threw it on because I was like, oh, this could be scary.
Yeah, this could be weird.
I could scare myself with this.
There was one, they did like a cheerleading not cheer. I love cheer, but they did like a professional cheerleading for like football teams doc on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the Cowboys.
Cowboys, yeah.
Because Cowboys. So you knew it a football.
Yep.
Being a Cowboys cheerleader is different than just being a cheerleader because there's something that's like
Texas?
the Dallas Cowboys. It's like they have the echelon of the A, the S tier. Cheerleaders is like. If you want to be the best cheerleader in the world, you go there.
Okay.
The others are.
Do they have like a name? Because isn't like the Jets
probably.
cheerleaders are the flight crew, right?
Oh, I'm sure they all do.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost certain they all do, but I don't know. I can't really compare it to anything else, but it's just it's like being a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model thing, where you're just like, oh, are you a Sports Illustrated girl, or maybe a Playboy bunny? Like you could be a Penthouse, whatever, but instead you're Playboy. It's like that, but in the world of cheerleading, it's like, oh, you're this.
Interesting.
So it would be something where it's like you would compare, well, not me, or but in 2000 maybe,
right?
A man would compare a woman to a Cowboys cheerleader, not just a cheerleader, like a Cowboys cheerleader. So.
Gotcha. Well, I thought about
it's
watching.
Interesting that it has this whole.
I thought
backstory.
about watching that,
because
it was on Netflix, and I liked Cheer so much, but I ended up not watching it just because of timing and stuff like that. And it's like
it's a whole show.
That's the thing is like I would almost watch it if it was just a movie. Yeah. But the commitment's almost too big. Where I'm like, I don't know if I'm
double
gonna be
feature it with Hard Knocks. Maybe I think that's the documentary about like training camp for the actual team.
Yeah. Next one.
Next one. So we're going back.
Going back.
The actual first movie I watched post stream.
Okay.
Right after stream, I went to a movie. Actually, right after stream, I knew I was going to be going to My Hero.
Yes.
You're Next.
You're
the name
Next.
of this movie. So I went and I watched and studied for like an hour and a half, just different run throughs of My Hero. Learned a little bit more about the characters, backstories, where the season was. Got to Derek, and he goes, "Oh, none of that matters."
I realized that because the season's still coming out, and I went, I thought this ended. That's so weird. My Hero is one I've watched, but I don't keep up with.
I think season 7 did end, but I think it's sub, not dub.
Okay.
Ending.
I was gonna say because there's two
from
more.
The way I understand, I caught a lot. It felt like a finale moment, is what I heard about, and it's pretty savage. But
okay,
the movie unrelated, just so
cool.
I was like, I guess I can name these characters now. Like I could have named Midoriya. I always call him Deku, his hero name. And then same thing with Bakugo. His name's crazy, so I just call him Bakugo.
Yep.
But like Uraraka, I think her name is, right?
I think that's close.
Yeah.
You said it, and that sounds not 100% right, but I don't know how to fix it.
Uravity is her superhero name.
Yeah.
But anyway, and Shigaraki was the name I learned. Obviously, I knew All Might.
Todoroki.
I loved Totoro. That's one I did know.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I remember watching him being like, dude, he's not using his dad's powers. Like his dad half because he hates him so much. I was like, dude, this is a fucking compelling story. And then he finally does it.
Dude,
Like,
Todoroki's
Dude,
whole
so
family
cool.
endeavor, all that stuff's
everything about it.
I want to watch that way more than I want to watch Deku be awesome. Like I'm like, cool, you're great, but let me go over to them.
Yes.
That whole family.
Everything there is awesome. But then also like how he almost like unlocks quirks as the All for One.
Yep.
You know, like he's like such a cool thing, and I was really into it. But so I'm catching up with Derek. Like, oh, these moments are really cool. It's too bad it's cut with filler, with this, with that. Like I just don't want that. And he's like, yeah, I know you don't, whatever. But I'm glad you saw the moments. And I was like, dude, watching him. Watching All Might, what does he do? He gets the power from All for One one last time. They like literally hold up a little ball, and his hand comes through and grabs it, and it twists, and it just fucking bulges out, and he just once. But that's all I saw. And Derek's like, oh yeah, when he's like, oh, I didn't have my back in it, and they actually showed that scene from the beginning of the movie. In the beginning.
Oh,
of the
really?
movie. And it's different than what I saw. I saw more of like a super cut. This one, he's like, oh, I didn't have my back into it when he swings, and I was like. That kind of undercuts it for me. Like I was feeling like welled up. I was like, oh, this is sick. And then I watched it in the movie and I was like, it's just these little undercuts they always throw at me that I'm like, God, it almost just doesn't take itself serious enough for me. There's something missing for me.
So I told you because the Haiku dumpster battle movie's coming to Netflix, and I was like, I think you should watch it because you don't need to watch the rest of the show to kind of just know what is at stake here. I could even be like, hey, these are the characters. This is what they're at, what's happening. But they do like a recap in the very beginning of the movie.
40 episodes or something.
No,
you said,
it's not
right?
long.
Like the show. So
But
I'm
I
like-
don't.
And everybody tells me I should watch it.
But I don't
so
want to.
Maybe I'll get there.
I was gonna say, but I give you a movie to watch, and you don't want to watch it. So I'm like, I don't want to give you a show because I have also given you shows you don't watch.
Well, and
so
it took a long time for me to finally check out Chainsaw Man, Derek's recommendation,
Yeah.
like years. But I watched it and I liked it.
I mean, I think the newsroom's like 28 episodes, and you haven't watched that, so it's.
Yeah, but that's 28 episodes in an hour apiece.
That's true. It's a little different. Just saying. But anyway, they do the same thing in the beginning. There's scenes that we saw in the show, but they're just like slightly different. I don't think they're undercut
I think
anyway.
mine was a supercut because he said it was one way, which he watched it in the show, and then we saw it cut in the movie the same way. So I imagine it is actually the same.
Gotcha.
What I saw was him grab the thing in his whatever turn, and then it cuts to the United States of Smash.
Oh, yeah.
Which in the movie I saw, he actually says it. I didn't put my back into it, and then he goes Delaware, Detroit, St. Louis, and starts naming stuff, and I'm like. These are cities and states, and then he says United States of Smash. I was like, God, what am I fucking watching, dude? Only a little bit.
Sfio, what's up?
What up,
Welcome to the
Sfio?
podcast.
Only a little bit because I want to respect it in a way that I'm not going to make fun of it to Derek ever.
That's fair.
Like I'm past that, you know. And he loves it too much that I'm like, I'm not here to just tear down something he loves.
No.
I'm here to try a little bit. But I really loved watching the super cuts of the show. And we watched the movie and Derek agreed. It didn't get my heart. It was pretty mid because it really was like inconsequential. It just had nothing of value. It seemed to like break a rule or two that Derek mentioned, and he was like, yeah, this is way like where season 7 is now. This is before that. Mm-hmm. And it didn't affect anything after. We didn't get any new characters. We got new characters we saw, but they were dealt with, you know. So to see characters in peril years ago, you're like, well, whatever.
Oh no.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just I didn't feel too like emotional towards anything, like too super excited or super sad, or it just didn't work.
I have the same thing right now. Obviously, I'm watching through One Piece, and there's a ton of One Piece movies, and I've been told some are really good, some are really important, some aren't important, all that stuff. And I'm like, I think I'm just gonna watch the end of the show, and then I'll go back and pick the movies because I don't want to be like, watch this episode, then watch the movie, and it be slightly off where I'm like, I don't really care, and I want to get back to. I know there's more show, but if I'm caught up on the show, then I can go back and just hit the movies, make sure I've seen all of it, and be good. So I think that's just what because I've looked at 20 lists that are like, these are the ones you need to watch, these are the ones you don't. No, you can avoid these. These aren't important, but they're fun. It's just like, I'm just going to keep watching the show.
Yeah.
So, anime movies, hit or miss.
Yeah, which to me is so interesting because I feel like they would be, you've been watching this show forever. It culminates towards a movie. Or
Would be
there's
awesome.
There's like a, a movie, almost like a recap maybe, or just something that I'm like, man, I feel like a movie would be really important, but most importantly, consequential. That there
Yes.
would be something, you know?
You would think it would be the week-to-week wrestling matches, and then you have the
SummerSlam.
and
Yeah.
then the movie would come out. That's not how it does.
Yeah, or you have a WrestleMania, or you have a...
Sometimes, like the Haiku movie, they don't have a season. The season 3 lead, or 4, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
They lead into the dumpster battle movie. That's not going to be a season. It's not going to be the show. It is the story. So they do
Well,
that
and
sometimes.
I brought this up, and Derek was like, well, that's not always the case because Demon Slayer Mugen Train, apparently super consequential. Wicked important. They're
Yes.
like main characters die, and it like has effects and whatever.
Yes, but that Mugen Train was also a season of a show. So you can watch the season or you can watch the movie. It's just a truncated season.
So fucking weird, dude. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. So that's
This
the
isn't
weird thing.
I mean, it's not the difference between comic issues and a trade because a trade is just all the issues. If the movie were 5 hours, maybe I'd understand, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, anyway,
Yep. Did he
So
get a
I-
heart?
My Hero?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay.
No, it didn't get a heart. No. And it didn't get Derek's heart. He doesn't give hearts because he doesn't have letterbox.
Oh, he didn't like it either?
No, that's what I'm saying. He was the one who's like, that really wasn't great.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And I was like, yeah, it really just didn't do anything. Like, it didn't progress a story that I had just learned about. It didn't give any like explanation to anything else. It didn't affect the world. It was like off in a different spot. I can kind of catch the timeline. I'm like, oh, he's still got this like rap, so he's kind of a vigilante right now, but he's just, I don't know. It resulted in nothing.
To be fair, I feel like that's the show My Hero, where they'll do an entire arc, and I'll be like, why did we do that? What was the consequences, all that? And then it'll come up later where the character comes back and it's like, this is why we did it. I was like, I didn't need 20 episodes to get this one moment. You could have done it in 3 episodes or 2 and then give me this moment. I would have
Yeah.
been the same way.
Yeah.
So
There's like in the show, I was in the recap, this like moment with Lemillion.
Yep.
I was saying, it just sounds
Lemillion.
weird to say
Yeah.
Lemillion.
The guy that looks like
He looks like All Might-ish. He's got
yes,
the blonde with the spiky.
but he also looks like the movie that Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson did, Tintin.
Tintin.
He looks like
Adventures of
Tintin.
Yeah, he kind of does. Just big,
He
strong.
looks like a buff Tintin.
Well, there's a point where he's like saving this girl, whatever, and he just got shot and he lost his powers and whatever, and the little girl's almost trying to help him as he's. I was like, dude, am I gonna cry watching the super cut right now?
That was my favorite arc.
Yeah, and it was
didn't
so
have to
cool.
do with.
But then it was
All
like,
Might.
then I saw going forward, and I was like, man, I don't know if these bullets come back into play. Like, I don't know,
No.
And I was like, I guess it was cool that it existed. Whatever, it's
Yeah.
a thing. It's just an anime thing, apparently.
It's just an anime thing.
But I came out of that, and I was like, you know what? Let me look up Gundam again.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if there's anything for me out here for Gundam. Let me see, like, because I watch a video, a guy who's like, his whole he's a 250K subs, all about doing anime recaps, talking about just like a talking head, a figurehead. And he was like, if you're an anime lover, there's like 2 groups. You either love all anime and then don't watch Gundam, or you watch Gundam and you don't really watch the rest. Like, there's like a divide for some reason.
Okay.
And he compared it to something. I compared it actually to comic books. Where it was like, yeah, I guess there's like Marvel and or DC like superhero comics, and then everything else, or you read everything else and you don't touch those because it like takes a whole fucking red wire tree to like, how do I watch this? How do
Yeah.
You can't just go to a comic book store and like, let me just pick up on Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's
What
like
does that
impossible.
even mean? Like, there's
crazy.
multiverses. There's one through line that's been going for 80 years, but they had to restart it with Marvel Now or DC Rebirth or the New 52. Or so you're like, where's my start point? Should I read anything before? What's consequential? What's not? So he was like, so I just avoided it. He didn't watch any Gundam, but he's like, I'm going to start, and here's how I'm going to do it. And there's something called the Universal Century timeline, which is like the sacred timeline of Loki.
Okay.
You get the multiversal stories, which when I was like, I watched Gundam as a kid without any context. I just was like, oh, it's on.
Yep.
This is cool. Space robots
That's
fighting,
how I ever
pink lasers,
always
explosions.
watched. Yeah.
And it looks like I was watching Gundam Wing or Gundam, like G Gundam.
Okay.
And these are the 2000s Toonami ones that were actually from the 90s, but they put them on in the 2000s for America.
Yeah.
And I was like, 2000s Toonami, that's what I was watching, so it must be these. Those are multiversal stories.
They're not the main.
They're not main stories.
I think because I recently looked, I was like, maybe I should watch Gundam because there was one Gundam series that I watched multiple episodes of. I never knew if they were in order or not. Like during that time, watching anime was tough. Even like Dragon Ball Z that I was on.
For real.
I think it was Gundam X. I think it was. All I remember is that the how they piloted the mechs is they would get into this empty area and they would like reach through black goo and the black goo would create their suits and now all of a sudden the Gundam moved like they did in their little pod areas.
Yeah. I think that's Wing.
Is that Wing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because I was like, let me just learn a little bit about Wing to see if this is a place to start. And that was the first thing they talked about as the difference was instead of being a pilot, you are Pacific rimming it. You are a physical mover, and the Gundam moves like you.
Yeah.
So a Gundam has a fighting style akin to his pilot, and they're talking. There's like a battle royale kind of thing going on, like almost like an Olympics, but whoever wins can control the universe for like a year or whatever it is. And it was like they're like, well, it's kind of slightly racist a little bit because there's like a Mexican one that he has a sombrero, like their whole planet is a sombrero, and it was like, well, there's like asterisks on a lot of stuff, but it was 90s, I guess.
Well, there's also a really weird thing with race inside of anime because it's race viewed from not a white American viewpoint, and it's sometimes very awkward where I'm like, I don't know if this is offensive or it's just a cultural divide.
Well,
it's really
I don't
weird.
watch enough anime to know.
Right.
Well, anyhow, so there's something called the Universal Century Timeline, which we'll say years ago, I don't remember how long, but it was like 3 years ago. It was like, oh, Gundam's cool. I should start an anime. Let me try it. I watched like 10 episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam, which is the original show from 1979. And I didn't get super into it, but that is the timeline that it's on. That's just how everything begins and how you just get all the different arcs and the different characters. And the Universal Century takes place like all over. But if they ever want something to be because of consequence of another, they just put it on the Universal Century Timeline,
Is there like jumping in moments? Because it's like, like Power Rangers, it's all technically one storyline and the Rangers just rotate or they give off their powers or whatever. But you could jump in at this point or jump in at this season.
Yes, so that's the thing where it seems to be if you were to watch, which this is such a good name, it's called Gundam War in the Pocket.
Okay.
Dude, it is such a fucking cool title. And the logo, I'll pull up the logo for you, but
got it.
It is a separate story with separate characters that you don't need to know anything about, but it is of consequence only related to the Century Timeline that you can get to. This is a thumbnail version of it.
Okay.
But it's got the whatever's War in the Pocket, and it's just a kid with a young helmet.
I think.
But go ahead.
I saw a clip from that because where people get like deleted by Gundams, like it just awesome gore moments.
So that's
but I don't know if it's
so.
that.
Again, I'm
Like
watching this video. Like, where should I start? And this guy, he's like talking about like why he feels there's something different here with Gundam, and he's like, I think it's because it's like so serious that it's not chill. He said that there's like he knows an anime is going to be good when it passes the kid dies test, which I was like, that's funny, but also I can see it.
Yeah.
And he's like, and this blows away the kids die test. And he shows a field of dead kids in the first episode of the 79 thing, which it's there.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I like a serious anime story, I guess. If I'm going to be invested forever, I need it to matter. You know?
Yeah.
When I think of like what's a series that really took me over as it was happening was Game of Thrones, probably.
Yeah.
So, and I'm excited for Dune Prophecy for the same reasons.
Did you ever try Attack on Titan?
Yeah, there was only one season out at the time.
Okay, because so many people
like,
call
2010, I guess.
Yeah, so many people call Attack on Titan the Game of Thrones of anime because everything matters. There's choices. There's like death. It's like very grounded in the sense that not everybody that
just
died
fucking picking people up and eating them in half.
Yeah,
it's
I was wondering if you tried that one. I didn't even finish it.
Yeah, I mean,
because it took so long.
Even if you get the same baseline seriousness, maybe even just say 1-to-1 the same story. One's got giant space mechs. One has weird, muscly alien creatures that come through. I just
totally
like, give me the space mechs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Give me the robots.
100%.
So maybe that's why I didn't take to it or whatever. But all the same. Yeah. So he said serious, and then he also said that he would put this, which I don't know this guy because I don't watch anime, but he seems to have enough subs, enough videos, enough content and knowledge. And there's a couple times where he shows his face instead of like a screen capture, and his face behind him is just walls of DVDs, VHS, manga, figures, pillows, everything. I'm like, this guy's in.
Yeah.
And he says that it's probably the quintessential anime for you can't skip an episode.
Oh, wow.
Not that you shouldn't, but you actually can't, because so many things of consequence can happen at any time. It's like if you were to just skip an episode of Game of Thrones, you might have just missed the Red Wedding. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what does that mean? Because you just never know what's going to happen or come through at those points. So I was like, oh, so I can feel comfy about not catching a filler arc or a filler episode. He ends up pointing out and talking about the timeline of which you should watch it based on the chronology of events, not how they were released. And he goes, there's one movie you can skip. It just doesn't touch anything. Everything else is like, if you want to know it, you should watch it. So that all of that intrigued me. I was like, this is really cool. And also, I can look at more than half of what Gundam's made. I can ignore it because it's multiverse stuff.
Yep.
Which is also like, I feel like you play Guess Who.
Yeah.
I feel like when your person is a woman, because the quantity of male to female is not equal, and you go, is your thing a boy? And they go, no. You just go, you start knocking half. You're like, wow, that was so. It's not, does he have a hat? Or is there a mustache? It's like, oh, I got lucky.
Yep.
And you flip down half the board. That's what I felt like. I was like, oh, this game is doable. I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
And it was cool because it was like, okay, it also starts with 6 movies, 6 chronological movies.
Oh, really?
It is the very beginning of the timeline.
Okay.
So they came out in like, I think 15, 16. And I mean, they took a
19,
year each.
15, 16?
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
It was 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, because there were 6 movies, right? So it did take like time to make these. But the first one I see here is 2015. 15, 16, 17, all the way to 18.
Okay.
6 movies. And I was like, okay, let me just throw on the first one. And I threw it on, and it felt like reading Dune.
Oh, really?
Where I'm like, man, you're assuming I know a lot.
Oh.
Like, you're talking to me like I know the name Zeon Zum Daikun. I don't know who the fuck that is. I don't know where we are. I don't know how we got here. Watching the first episode of 79, it starts with the year is Universal Century 0079.
Yeah.
And the colonies have done this, and we're in space now, and here's why this happens. Here we go. Welcome to the show. Every episode gives you the beginning of the story.
Right.
This is the beginning of the story, so I didn't get here's where we're in space now. I was like, I didn't know that. Sure looked like we were on fucking Earth this whole time. Turns out we're on a spinning cylinder. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a halo
Like
ring kind of thing.
thick, long halo.
Yes. And I was like, man, I really wish I would have known that. So I paused. I was in Wikipedia, like looking at names. I'm like, dude, this is a lot. The second movie I get to, I watch it back to back, and it gives me a recap of the first movie, and it explains everything in a little bit more of a bullet pointy way. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see the threads. But also, the main bad guys are called Zombies. Their mobile suits are called Zakus. And again, I've never heard these words before,
right.
You know, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to dig through all of them.
And you have Zoids, and it's just like,
yeah, Bandai and Sunrise. I got Zoids. That's something else. But but as I get through it, I'm in the 4th movie right in a row. I'm just boom, 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 boom.
Are these like an hour and a half? Like, how long are they?
I think the shortest one was 58 minutes. I think the second one was, but they were an hour 25, hour 30. Like,
gotcha.
They're movies after that and
Yeah.
before. The first one's like an hour 30. I think it is the sequel that was like 58 minutes. But they're all on Letterboxd, so I got reviewed all of them. Every single one of them got my heart.
That's great.
Dude, I tell you, I watched all of these. There isn't a Gundam in any of them.
What?
And I didn't notice. Because
That's so
because
crazy.
it's a stinger at the end of the 4th one, someone going, we have a blueprint. And they show a blueprint for a Gundam. And I was like, I forgot I'm watching Gundam. Like, I forgot I should be looking for a robot. I'm like so into the politics of this space colony thing. I'm like, dude, this is insane.
I guess that's great building
seriously,
to the
I was like, we're in space. There's 7 families vying for this one thing. I'm watching Dune. I'm like, this just feels like Dune. And obviously, because it came post-Dune,
Yeah.
it obviously had inspirations. And I'm like, I think it feels better than Dune for me in that it's small scale because you have Earth, Moon, like Earth's moon, then these colonies. They didn't get further than that. It doesn't take years to travel one to the other. It's
Right.
like you can fly to this ship in like a week. you know?
Yeah.
Although it takes place in like a day every time. You never.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's just like, it's fast. We're here. They're
Yeah.
all here. And when you're in a colony, you can see another colony. They're like, boom, boom, you know, they're closer than states.
Yeah.
you know? So it feels nice to have it feel so much smaller in that scope that it's not like in a galaxy far, far away on the planet of Tatooine. It's like, no, it's Earth.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then the other ones, they call some of the other colonies names. But yeah, it was so intriguing. Like, I have the red wire taped up now.
Okay.
And I'm like, I know the connections. I mean, I still struggle with some of the names because, my God, the names are just like Artesia.
They're tough, yeah.
You know, I'm just like the main guy's name is Char Aznavour.
Of course it is.
And I'm like, I should just...
Little Chari,
So
dude.
that's the thing, is that none of these are Shigaraki or Midoriya. It's like Amuro is the closest I can think to like a more Japanese sounding name in my head. But the rest are just names that I'm like, yeah, I guess Eduardo's a name. That's who you are, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, they're just assuming I know so many characters, I imagine, that it's like they're just saying the name. It's Xianzum Daikun.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So the names I still struggle with, but by visual, by whatever, I'm like, I can see the threads, and I'm like, yo, is this world fucking sick? And then I started watching the TV show this week. I think I'm on like episode 5. I'm barely anywhere in it, but I'm like, oh man, I'm happy to see all of these threads matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually all of these relationships I now know about, I'm like actually invested. And I feel like there's a twist that they gave me early now. Like I saw the twist develop, you know? And now I'm like, I can't wait for this to matter later. And there's some characters that legitimately have 3 names because they're known by different things in different places because they're not the same person.
Yep.
And I'm like, I truly have to know your animation in order to understand where we're at and who we are. But I do now, you know? And it's like, this person might be like, my name is Sayla, and then turn to the next person and they go, Artesia? And you go, that's me. And I'm like, I just have to know that, you know?
I feel like...
But I'm like so into it. I like these, just 6 movies, because I'm not into all of Gundam. It's still so much more vast.
Right.
But then everything I've been sold after this is still like, it's political drama first. It's like anti-war. It's kids going into it excited for war to realize its realities. And dude, it all starts because of our very particular war crime that happens. And it is fucked. It was something I was like, I can't believe they showed this. I mean, I can because it's Japan.
Right.
But also...
Where were you watching all this? Was it all available on streaming somewhere?
So that's the thing. I've been waiting to talk on the podcast about this because you didn't know anything about this.
I didn't know anything. No.
Because we were talking about how you found a haiku.
Yes.
I'm going to need you to pull some stuff for me because I don't know any of the routes or the safety nets or where to go or where not to go. But anyone who likes anime seems to have this sort of like, oh, I can get this.
I can figure out a way.
I can get it. It's like, I'm ready for the thumb drive that has the shit. Because it was like, oh, these movies are on Crunchyroll.
Yep.
Mobile Suit Gundam, Crunchyroll. I was like, great. That's 43 episodes, I think is the number that I'm going to get through. Seems manageable. After that, download. And that's what he put when it wasn't Hulu, Netflix, Max, whatever. So I'm like, oh man, if I'm going to stay in order, I'm going to need some downloads here soon. So, but I told this to Ty Tuesday, and most important, I told it to Derek. Dude, I was like, this isn't one I can recommend because, and it's the same reason of like, if you're here for Gundam, you don't get it. I watched 8 hours of the show and I didn't recognize or realize, like, you get a mobile suit, you get like something flying. But that's it. You don't get the laser sword you came here for in any of them. Period. It's just not there. So don't expect it. And so I didn't fully recommend it, but I start telling him about this and my excitement for it or whatever. And Justin, part of Ty Tuesday, was saying I have a Gundam from him. He gave me a Gundam kit because I was just interested in building. Yeah. I had just built a Lego set and I was like, give me a Gundam because I thought I liked it. Let me try. And he had a duplicate model that he gave me. Well, he went home and sent a photo. He's got like 30 unbuilt kits.
Whoa.
He has a fuckload of kits that are all the way. Like they start at like the high grade or whatever, and they go up from there. Like he's got a lot of kits. He just hasn't built them. And he's like, cool, I think one of our Tie Tuesdays we could just get together and I'll just supply the kits. We can just build them.
That would be awesome.
So you're invited.
Okay.
I was going to invite you anyway, but
That's
you're
awesome.
invited because it's not going to be we don't need 4 players only because you invite the 5th person to Commander Night. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I'll invite the 5th person to let's throw something on the TV and all build our own Gundams. Like that just sounds like a ton of fun. But I've been looking at a lot of models. I've been watching a lot of YouTube. I'm just like, dude, Gundam is like, it's in my mind all day now.
That's exciting. Especially with the card game on the way.
The card game is, so it was the card game, watching Your Next and talking up, like feeling the excitement of my hero from a supercut point of view, talking over it with Derek, seeing his excitement at my understanding of it and us being able to talk. And I'd be like, oh yeah. And also this thing, and he's like, oh dude. And then we'd talk about it forever. And I was like, maybe I should start Jujutsu Kaisen or something. Maybe I should I should keep up with one because they all have those moments of really cool shit. I clearly didn't do that.
Yeah.
But then it was the Gundam TCG that I was like, I think this is the one I'm going to try. And it's fucking working out. And now I can't wait for the Gundam TCG and I'm just like, come on, let's do it.
That's exciting.
So
that's great.
I'm curious. I'm not going to be reading any manga. I don't know if or when I'll jump into the multiverse shit. Universal Century is not actually all that long in terms of you hit a certain point where if I were to keep going, no character I'm looking at now could be alive. It's like 200 years in the future.
Gotcha.
So the Century timeline's long. I might even stop it early and just have like my...
Wing? No. What'd you say it was? Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam?
Mobile Suit Gundam is the first series.
That's what you're looking at, right?
That's what I'm at now, yeah. But they go past that in a timeline that is like... you can live.
Okay.
But there will be a point. So the Universal Century is 0079. There are some that are like 179, or I'm like, oh, you're 100 years in the future. But it goes 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, like for the first however many afterwards. And there's like 15 things in 79 and 80 because it is called the 1 year war. So you're just in different parts of whatever, fighting different fronts of the 1 year war. So that's what I intend to do.
That's exciting.
Is just navigate through.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the big the safety net things was don't skip an episode. I'm like, oh great, I won't run into bullshit. The guy honestly ranking his like feelings about a lot of them, and some of them just being like, yeah, this one's real cool because this guy loves jazz and he puts it into his fighting, and this guy loves pop music and he puts it into his fight. I'm like, sure, man, I'll do it. It's Gundams, right? Like I don't care, because at the end it's also like the horrors of war. But the real thing was if you're an anime fan, you either like Gundam and nothing else, or you like everything else and you probably don't touch Gundam. And I'm like, well, that's great because if I like this, I don't. It's known. I don't have to like anything else. I can just do this.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's great. I'm excited. It makes me want to watch it. Your excitement about it.
I know. It's weird. It's weird. Well, it's funny though because it's like the only person that's ever told me to watch Gundam outside of like, Toonami programmers, I guess.
Right.
Is my buddy Colin, who doesn't like anime except for
Gundam.
Except for Ghost in the Shell, Akira. What's the one with D in it?
One Piece.
Jesus. No, not quite.
Oh. High School Double
I think it's
D.
called Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter, yeah.
Yeah. That one. Like he likes movies and old anime shit. So when he's like, dude, Gundam fucks, it's also good. You should watch this. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I should trust it more because I'm like, we do like a lot of the same shit that I watch it now. I'm like, he's the kind of person I'd put. I actually first person I recommended this to, Hoki.
Oh,
I was like, dude, I know you hate anime because I hate anime. We hate anime. Like the tropes and everything about it, we just can't stand it. We joke about it all the time. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, these 6 movies are all anyone needs, and they just spark a war. And you can keep going if you want, but it's just like Dune. The end of Dune sparks a war. You don't have to watch the rest, but it's like it feels just like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, except I want to keep watching the war, which is a kid and his teenage friends and one commander that are gonna go fucking save the universe. I'm like,
with
okay.
giant robots.
I'm like, okay, we're back into this is a kids show.
Yeah.
But also this kid is driven because he just watched like a neighborhood of children get slaughtered.
Yeah.
It's like a different heaviness to it. So
That's awesome.
it is really exciting.
So that was 6 movies of yours?
That was all my movies.
Oh, man, okay.
Because 6 of them
And
were
were Gundam.
Gundam.
That
Just
makes sense.
boom, 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 heart, heart, heart. Dude, I'm like ready to watch them again. I like want to like see it. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, I can see
You can go
it.
back and see it.
I'm like,
yeah.
now I know who Xeon is. I know who, you know. And dude, there's some choices that I'm like, dude, this is like really smart writing. And it talks about like how they use political propaganda, and it's just like a throwaway line. But I'm like, all the bad guys are named the Principality of Xeon. That's like who rides the Zaku's and does the evil shit. And they're named because they assassinated Xeon, but they took his ideals as like a whatever to lead this planet to do this thing. So they named it Xeon as a propaganda move. They killed the guy. They hated him. But to like get the planet behind them, they named it after him. I'm like, dude, you're wearing his like name all over your shit as
While
a
there's
fucking,
blood stains
as
on
a
it.
political move. Dude, that is so cool that the entire villain's name is driven by political agenda that no one talked about until these movies. It's so cool. It's just so cool.
That's exciting. I might like I don't know when I'd have, but I kind of just want to sit and at least watch one and see if I can keep going with it if I get hooked.
Yeah, yeah. It has anime things that happen, but they're not the. I think the thing I could point to as the tropiest of all of it, besides we're flying robots, even though these are the ones who created it. Apparently, there's now a genre called real robot versus whatever like a humanoid, like a fucking slithery snake robot would be called. I guess.
Gotcha.
These ones are like they actually hired an engineer who is like part of the staff of the show to make these functional things. They are. It's all quote unquote all based on science.
Right.
Like. The fact that these models work with joints and the way that they function is the same way the ones in the show work, and it's very unique in that it's very science driven. But the closest thing to an anime trope in this I can think of is there's one character who's known as like the big strong brother, who makes a lot of the like generals' decisions, like the war decisions. He just screams everything. Because he's the big guy. I'm going to scream all the time. That kind of all might screams every phrase he has.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
For I am here. It's like that
It's like
register.
So I looked to see if they were the same voice actor, actually.
That's okay.
They're not, but I looked to see if they were. And it's not the actor's fault or anything. It's just it's clearly the anime of it all. But it feels different because he's screaming things like, because he now has a daughter. And he slaughtered some people, a lot of like. And
sometimes you gotta do what you
couldn't
gotta
tell you
do,
the number of people he killed. That was dead in a very crazy way.
Hey, Nathan Drake at the end.
He's sad. He's 1,000 Ludo narrative dissonance.
Exactly.
Well, they want you to feel this guy's narrative.
That's fair.
But his thing is, he's like crying and screaming. I killed 1,000. Whatever his daughter's name is, Muriels. I killed 1,000 Muriels, and then he turns to actually. There was 1,000 men just like me who couldn't protect their Muriels. I'll protect mine. They were weak. They're the villain. And it's like you see him circle talk himself, and from sympathy to anger to I'll kill all of them. And it's like a really cool moment, but he screams it all in big anime voice. And I was like, God, I just got to look straight through it to the material.
Yeah.
The guy, his name's Bonsai something. Bonsai Plays, Bonsai Watch. The guy on YouTube I saw.
Gotcha.
He said it best that he's like, if you're gonna watch Gundam, you probably are the person who views anime as a genre and not as a medium. And I was like, that's fucking interesting.
Whoa.
I am that guy.
That's weird.
I was like, did he just soul read me? I was like, because anime, when you say anime to me, I think of the tropes. I don't think of it is the medium.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I got to really look inside. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my God.
I really got to think about that. That's a good thing. And he's like, this one's for you. And I was like, fuck, he's right.
Oh, that's so funny.
This Bonsai guy's right.
He's got it, dude. He's got to
and
figure
then
it out.
and then he tells me after I watch another video, and he's like, dude, Gundam Wink's the fucking sickest thing to ever exist. It's slightly racist, but so much fun. And I was like, I got to get through the serious shit, but then I love to have fun in this world. Like the sandbox of Dune, have fun with it is a weird thought. But you're like, there's some cool shit going on here. I'd like to watch the Olympic battles where they actually pilot more like a Pacific Rim. Sure.
Yeah.
And then I'll build a model about it for $35.
There you go.
This is great.
That's cool. And then after that, spend even more money on a TCG, and then you get to play. yeah. I was gonna say, there's gonna be.
Dude. It looks like it. I mean, because we looked a little bit at One Piece, the TCG, and I remember being like, "Oh, this actually feels kind of Western. Like, there's something about this game that it has the thousands, like it deals in thousands." And I was like, I can still see that it's inspired by different types of TCGs that I'd want to play. But what do they call it? The Dawn deck. That was like their mana base and everything. That was like a separate thing. They seem to be using similar mechanics, but it's very Western, and now they use single digit damages and stuff. But it looks like a game I'm really going to enjoy playing. And because, mainly for me, because it's 4-player. If it were 2-player, I might collect a couple cards of my favorite Gundams or pilots if I end up getting those. But now at this point, I'm like, I would like to just play it. Actually, get 4 people and play a Commander-esque Gundam game. Sounds fun.
Group game.
But they haven't fully they haven't shown all the rules, but they've done enough, and they've shown enough cards that people have put a lot of the rules together. I'll explain it to you off camera. It looks really cool.
Okay. Well, now we've gone through what we watched, and now we can get into the trailers.
When did we start?
We're at an hour 27. But
I thought I could talk about that the whole time.
But I thought we could get into some of the trailers we just watched, because a bunch of trailers dropped. I don't know why it's like there's not like a single trailer that comes out. It's like a group of like 5 or 6 that drop.
You
all
know,
at the
it's
same
funny
time.
because when I heard that too, there's a lot of trailers to watch. I was like, oh yeah, New York Comic Con just went on.
Oh, okay.
So that must be it. But then we watched the trailers where I was like, well, none of these are
Comic-Con anything
trailer.
besides the DC.
I looked up Gundam on Netflix because I didn't know where it was, by the way.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's a brand new, like a new episodes kind of thing. New series is what it said, like the red banner on something for a Gundam show that is entirely like lifelike 3D.
Oh.
I was like, it looked like a Love, Death, and Robots kind of visual. That I was like, that's kind of interesting. So I was like, let me click it, watch the trailer. It wasn't out yet. It came out in 2 days. And I was like, what are the odds that I'm like watching right as this new Netflix show comes out? But there's a 10-episode, apparently self-contained arc that did just come out on Netflix last week.
Okay.
So I'll probably be watching that even though it's completely
Separate,
out of order.
different, yeah.
It's in the timeline.
Oh,
From what I understand. I'd have to look it up again to
It's
be
just
sure, but
down the road.
I don't even know.
No.
Maybe it just happened. I couldn't tell.
Oh, that's true.
Like
I guess the timeline doesn't come out in order. They could plop it at any point.
Plop it at any point.
That makes sense.
And I really don't know, but it seems interesting enough that I'll do it. Apparently the facial expressions are very PS2, but I'm like, you're probably going to be in robots a lot of the time, so I don't
crossed.
really care.
But we
anyway.
watched the Wolfman trailer. I want to talk about that first because we watched probably the first 30 seconds of it, and we're like, we're seeing too much, and we turned it off.
Yeah.
Because
it was like, you kind of showed me a lot of the intro.
we're already going to watch this movie.
Yeah. I don't need to be sold.
Don't need to be sold. So, but there is a new trailer out for that if you still need to be sold on it or want to watch it or like to watch all the trailers for a movie. We watched like 30 seconds. It all looked really interesting, and then we're like, we'll turn it off. We don't need any more.
It's a Blumhouse movie too, which means that Blumhouse is going to put it in a trailer that spoils a lot of stuff. Like that's just what they do.
Yep.
It's just a Blumhouse thing.
Now we'll just have to try to avoid it for 2 months at the theater because I think it's January, right?
It's January. Yeah, I don't know where in January, but yeah, and with November, I feel like I'm gonna have a busy theater.
There's a
going.
lot coming out in November.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Some test screenings came out for
Gladiator.
2.
Yeah.
I really wish I didn't hear about them.
I heard very little about them. For me, they could have said literally anything. It would not have got my excitement either way because I'm already
If
excited.
they came out and said it was super dog shit, my excitement would have been lower. But there's what am I gonna do?
Now watch it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I gotta watch it.
That's the tagline for this podcast. What am I gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Not
listen?
watch it? Yeah. What are you gonna do? Not listen?
Yeah, so I think it did increase the excitement in a way that I wish I didn't have cranked up for me.
That's fair.
Because someone before I went into the Batman told me it was like The Shining.
Oh,
I don't know why, but it was an online review. There's nobody personally I knew.
Okay.
They're like, oh man, it's like The Shining and they labeled the things. And I was like, oh, I love The Shining. This is going to be so great.
And it was.
Oh, it was so great. Yeah. Fuck that movie. Matt Reeves is great though. He still has my heart.
So then we also watched trailer for, is it The Monkey? I think it's The Monkey, right?
The Monkey.
Which is based on a short story by Stephen King. It's like a comedy horror film by Osgood Perkins. Was that right?
Nailed it.
Who did Long Legs.
Yep.
I did not see that. You saw that. But I love Stephen King. I'm excited for
Yeah,
this
Long
one.
Legs. He also did The Black Coat's Daughter is like one of his other ones
Oh,
with Kieran Shipka.
I think I have seen that, but I don't really remember it.
I think it's an A24 movie. Funny enough, it was like first 2 years of A24 or
Wow.
whatever. It was like real early before they probably knew who they were.
Yeah. Before they were A24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's a grandson to Anthony Perkins.
Makes sense.
Probably how you get into the movie industry.
Right,
Is
yeah,
have,
it seems
Anthony
weird.
Perkins as grandfather.
And he makes horror stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes I'm like nepotism can work.
Yeah, let's put a stamp right there on that.
that's the new slogan. Of
Yeah.
it.
Oh my god.
Put that as the title of the episode. Nepotism can work?
Nepotism
Question mark.
can work. Get the clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
So
For an hour 40 in or hour
right,
30
yeah.
in. Yeah.
The trailer was really cool. I'm excited for it. I was on the fence about it because I heard it was more comedy than horror.
Well, in the first trailer was a teaser. It wasn't really a trailer,
Yeah.
and it was like very horror seeming. Like it felt very horror. But I was like, man, he said on an interview as I was listening to about Long Legs, he said the monkey's funny. He
Yeah.
said it's going to be a comedy,
And this definitely feels funny watching this trailer.
dark comedy,
Dark comedy.
straight
Oh, yeah.
comedy, like a straight face, straight delivery.
Yeah.
It's not Shaun of the Dead, goofy, silly. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Not
where I'm
that
like,
at
oh,
all.
we're
Yeah.
all belly laughing. You're like, oh man, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Is more what you're going to.
I think it was what was it? I watched a video where they talked about the making of Team America World Police and how they originally wrote that movie was they were having a bunch of puppets make jokes about the movies that they were parodying in that movie, and they shot a first scene or whatever and went, "Oh, this isn't funny because puppets telling jokes isn't funny. What would be funnier is if the puppets just did things straight
If they did
and serious."
it's
That's
just
what's
a
funny.
puppet doing them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not that in the same way, but it's like this is in the sense of the movie, it's horrific what's happening. At least that's what it looks like. But because you're watching it and how it's happening is what's going to be funny, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
It looks like it'll also be funny with like irony and funny. With,
Yeah. And then we watched the trailer for the new Goosebumps series, Goosebumps: The Vanishing, with Ross Geller from Friends in it, David Schwimmer.
I was like, you're just gonna use his character name, dude?
David Schwimmer, also from Band of Brothers. He was in Band of Brothers. It was like the first
guess
thing
I
I
don't
saw
remember him in
him
that.
outside of Friends. I saw him in that. He did great in that, and he looks like he's
Who-
going to do good
who
in this.
didn't?
Yeah, right. Band of Brothers is like perfection. But there is the trailer looks fun. I didn't finish the first season of Goosebumps, even though I really liked what I was watching. I don't know what happened. I just ended up not finishing it. I need to go back and finish it. This looks great.
I watched
But-
just the first episode. So
There's it's got like plants or bugs or vines or something, but there's a part where things are coming out of people's skin, and
I mean, it's called "Don't Go Into the Basement," right? Is the Goosebumps story?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's because Dad like turns into a plant, which when he said the words "Don't go into the basement," but
Yeah.
then you see the plants along the wall, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
I've been in this room before. I've watched this movie.
yeah. I really like what they're doing with Goosebumps.
I didn't. I watched one episode, so I didn't get into it.
I just
but
think I like the idea of it better than just doing like either movies or
I did like the Jack Black.
Yeah.
Well, I guess both movies. In Jack Black's, I think a cameo in the second one.
Yeah,
really,
he's like
but
barely in it.
I was like, man, the second one actually still worked for me. Like,
think
I still
they're-
liked seeing all the characters come together in one space.
I think they're very fun, but I like this because it's like taking
more
it
of a
serious,
Teen tone.
but it's not. Yeah, but it's not like scary.
Yeah.
But it's fun enough where you could put it on and watch it, and it's still got that
Yeah.
goosebump feel.
Yeah.
So I'm really liking it. I think that was the trailers we watched. Then a couple more trailers came out that we kind of just skipped past because
I saw a leaked trailer for Daredevil, Born Again.
ooh, I haven't seen anything on that.
Yeah, I saw pieces of it because it was a leak. I didn't know it was like not real quality. I was like, oh, what kind of things do we see in this? I'm not going to speak too much on it because it's not out, or
yeah.
it couldn't be. It could possibly not be real or something. But it got a thumbs of like, I think this looks really fucking great from what I'm seeing. It looks like they're going the serious and adult tone that the Netflix series took.
That's cool.
And we know Punisher's coming back. Like
Yep.
we know there's pieces that are going to be. I'm like, okay, I'm curious to see how they keep this world up and about.
It is interesting because I mean, Daredevil. When we got Daredevil, very grounded, very serious, very adult on Netflix. And then he dipped his toe into Spider-Man, which is still serious, but it's like that Marvel loopy.
Yeah, well, and he like catches a brick or something
Yeah.
like that. And, you're just a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know?
And then he's in She-Hulk, which is very comical, breaking fourth wall in the sense. And I'm like,
Yeah, and he's the one night stand or whatever. It's
And-
just
and
like
he's doing, like, the walk of shame.
shame with the boots in his hand. Or
and then
whatever,
after that, we're going to go back to Adult Dark, which is going to be interesting for that character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really like Daredevil. Like, one, as a character, and two,
dude, as a character,
like, I like
the
the show a
whole
lot.
him dressing as a devil while being a devout Catholic is just unique to me. And his what's his name, Alan Moore,
Yeah.
who does like he did a couple of his big runs. Like the style of him, the gothic is like it's what I like about Batman, but in a different body.
Yep.
You know,
I also like his, like,
baton.
batons, but with the string in between. It's all like, like when it's drawn and it's like floating around him. It's very similar to like Spawn's cape, where it's like
it's
everywhere.
it's just breaking physics. Like,
Yes.
it can't do this. Yeah.
It's so cool. So I'm really excited for the next one. So hopefully what you saw comes out soon, because I would like to see anything from it.
Yeah, I think it was part of New York Comic Con.
Makes
That must
sense.
have been where it came out. So I imagine there's going to be something. But there was also footage from whatever Comic Con was. Just San Diego.
Yeah.
That had apparently Fantastic Four and stuff. That was in some ways leaked. Like you could just watch it, but I didn't, because I was like, I'll wait for it.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch it in 4K somewhere.
Right? Where is
Still
it?
haven't seen it.
Where is it? Come
But
on.
also trailers come out and then I just miss them sometimes.
That's true.
So I don't know.
I recently saw I forget what news station was bringing up, is that this trailer, is it real or is it fooling the internet? And I went, what trailer? I clicked on it. It's like Deadpool 4 with Loki. And I was like, guys, we just got Deadpool. There's no way there's a trailer for Deadpool 4. Think about it,
They
guys.
wanted the clicks, you know what I
Right?
mean? These
Yeah.
people wanted
But
clicks.
I'm like, come on. How is this fooling anybody? But we know people that get fooled. It happens.
We sure do.
It's unfortunate. But and then with that, and then did you have any info on the box office for this week? I know we usually go over that.
Yeah. I think Terrifier 3 was at 36 million. Smile did take the
Number one.
number one. And I think, before I look, I think it was Wild Robot was number 2.
Oh yeah, Wild Robot.
Box office, weekend chart. Last weekend, yep. So Smile 2,
Boom.
$23 million in the weekend. That's a total gross because it's only on the one weekend. Second, with $10 million this weekend, was the Wild Robot, which is now over 100. It's 101.
Well
But
done.
this week, again, 1 week post-release, Terrifier 3, $9 million, now bringing its total to 36.
And its budget was
Unknown for sure,
Oh.
guesstimated 2,535. So
Good
high
return
end,
on
we'll
investment.
say high end, we'll say 4. That, yeah, you made $32 million. And I told you, well, yeah, we talked about this with his lawyer and
Yeah.
coming out about the pricing and stuff like that. Yeah, so to know that he was offered like $2 million for it and he just returned $32 million for it is like,
I'm sure Damien Loans just goes all right into his pocket, right?
that's how it goes.
That's
it
how
works.
business works.
That's how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
So now he's actually 32
I mean,
million.
he made the movie, right?
It's 32
No one
million
else was
richer.
there, so yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
yeah.
they got paid.
They
were
paid.
part of the
Oh, yeah,
3-5.
true.
They were
Yeah.
part of the.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just I'm sure he's doing fucking okay though.
Yeah, he's doing fine. And I bet you, guess what?
I
He's
bet
going to
you-
be able to make another movie.
I was gonna say, I bet you the Terrifier 4 he's already written somewhere it's got a lot of green lights, a lot
Yes.
of blinding green lights.
Yep. It's all pedal to the metal. He's moving forward. Great for him.
There's one marketing company out there, dude. If it gets picked up by a company, giving it to Neon would be cool because they did so great with the Long Legs marketing. I'd love to see a different route of Terrifier marketing that's pushed a little further.
Oh, I completely forgot.
Because that's what made Freddy so cool, right? It was
yeah.
all in the marketing. How many people have seen Nightmare 4? You know what I mean? How many
Yeah.
people actually watched it versus like the colloquial? So I think the right marketing team could make this guy like something different.
In Terrifier 2, I really like that the haunted house they go into is called the Terrifier. Like the whole
Oh.
ending is the because at first you're like, why is it called that, or what does it have to do? Is it just a name or whatever? And then when the haunted house is like Terrifier, I was like, oh, that's really kind of cool.
Yeah, like you're tying up a loose end that you accidentally made.
Yeah, and you didn't need to tie it up.
Not
I was
at
fine
all.
without it, but I like that it was there. And the effect, like on the word on the haunted house, was really cool. It was almost like on fire inside, but it almost looked like old school, like horror movie splash screen.
Yeah,
It was
it's
interesting.
of course because most movies deal with huge numbers that you can't really quantify. But Terrifier 2 being made on just over, or I guess it was exactly $250,000. I think it was like 250,000.
Oh, okay.
Being made on that, I know that number better. Like I can understand it better. And I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, damn, you can do that on $250,000, huh? Like just that's a big custom thing.
Well done.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I guess I really just don't know how much anything costs.
Yeah, right.
And he knows so many people, and he's the editor, director, writer, visual effects, whatever.
Which is that was the thing. Again, back to the Team America World Police, they were talking about the budget and the cost of everything, and they're like each Uzi gun that the puppets held were so detailed and made. Each one cost $1,000, and I went, well, then you make one, maybe two, and you just reuse them, right? How many Uzis did you guys need for this movie? Like, come on. It was like stuff like that. But
And also, I was like, okay, so you made 20. That's 20,000. How this that's a drop in this big old bucket you got, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. That's and then Bollywood RRR being made for $4 million or whatever it was. You're just like, dude, fuck off.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, I got another story for you. Stokes, how do you feel about musicals?
I forgot to tell you.
Oh, shoot.
I watched My Hero, You're Next.
Okay.
I'm going out to go potty.
Okay.
Wicked comes on. Doo-doo-doo, the trailer. That's why I'm like, I've seen this, whatever. The trailer wasn't a trailer because it was timed after the fucking guy catches the popcorn. They do the welcome to AMC.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I was like, oh, another trailer. So I'm leaving. It wasn't a trailer. It was something that said, don't talk.
Oh,
don't text. Don't post. Don't sing. And I was like, oh, fuck, they said don't sing.
Yeah.
That's the first time we talked about this.
Yeah.
The day I was going, I was like, oh my God, they said it. I've been to musicals and theaters plenty, but this one said do not sing.
Yeah, because then they showed
Because you were worried about Wicked having a bunch of singers in the audience.
Yep.
And that they were there when you...
When I went and saw it live, there was someone behind us that wanted to sing every song. Yeah.
And I was like, man, they said it. I'm glad they said it.
Yeah.
But anyway. You asked me, do I like musicals?
Yeah. How do you feel about musicals?
Do you mean movies?
We'll start there. Yes, movies. Musicals.
Yeah, I just because I've only seen Les Mis. Les Mis and Phantom. Otherwise, it's Blue Man Group or it's like other types of things. But as for movies, you know, the only ones that come to mind that I really loved, I did like Les Mis. But it's Singing in the Rain is one of my favorite movies, period, and it happens to be musical, so they can work for me.
They can work because
plenty of movies there are ones that I'm like, oh, we're kind of hindered by music here. I wish it wasn't a musical,
right?
But I'd say I'm into them.
This
Hamilton was fantastic,
right? This isn't a movie; it's going to be possibly a stage production. But Lin-Manuel Miranda,
I've heard of him,
dropped a new concept album for the next musical he wants to make. So this is essentially he's got it written, got the music, got everything done, casting. But he hasn't got the green light to make it, which seems crazy. You'd think they would just go, you want to make it? Yeah, make it.
You are you.
And I'm wondering if there's a rights issue because he did all this, got it all ready, but he's like, I got to release the concept album to get hyped to then get the show made. The whole musical, Warriors, based off the movie The Warriors. But instead of being a whole gang of men, the whole gang is women.
Okay.
And then they have all the songs. You can listen to the concept album right now. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music and stuff like that. I've been listening through it. It's really good.
Well,
it's really
my
cool.
separation from musicals. That's very different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
I will never listen to the song outside of the movie. There's something so intricately tied to them that I don't pick I think I Dreamed a Dream I listened to separately.
Mm-hmm.
There was something about that was a little different for me, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the only one. I just don't, because it's like I don't listen to scores for movies either.
Fair.
Separately, but I can see if you listen to scores, it's like you're catching a movie in your head. I'm talking about movie musicals only here, but it feels like I'm reading a chapter of a book when I'm listening to a fucking musical song, because it's like you're picturing the important moment, or you're picturing, like in the case of Hamilton, it's literally just rapping history at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this song's cool, but I don't want to rap about history right now. Like, I'm not listening to fucking Schoolhouse Rock on the way to work. You know what I mean? There's a separation in my mind. So the idea of listening to a concept album, it's for the people. It should exist. That's great. There's no world I want to listen to it.
Totally fair.
The Evil Dead's a musical. I don't want to hear a song without the stage in front of me. You know what I mean?
And I saw that stage musical. That's very fair for that musical.
I'm just saying it.
Music's not the strongest.
American Idiot. You know, that or Rocky was a musical apparently. I'm like, my curiosity is pretty high for that. I'm not going to do it unless the stage is there.
I could see, because you don't really, I would say, listen to albums or anything like that, especially musicals or
The ones I do a
ones.
lot, but zero musical or theatrical ones.
I would listen to just the first song just to feel the vibe, so you can be like,
Okay.
oh, that's interesting, because it's as
What's the vibe? Do you have a...
it's hard to like,
Phrase, an
I don't know
idea?
how to like phrase it. We'll play like a few seconds of it.
Oh, you're going to play? Okay. Hot on mic.
You know, they it's, we'll see how well it's picked up, but so it's that, and then it will cut in with
That
rapping
actually
and stuff
didn't
like
feel
that.
like it didn't feel like it gave me a whole lot. I'm not gonna lie. I'll have to scrub through a little further.
I would say listen to just the first song. I mean, it's a 4-minute song, but just listen to the first song and be like, oh, this is kind of the vibe, because it's got a little bit of like the girls singing their parts, and like it's got the survive the night, the warriors come out to play, yeah,
Sure.
like stuff like that. And then it's also got like the rapping of like, this is the person that's telling you where we're at in the movie.
story. We're here at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like here's what's happening in the world right now. So, but I was pretty hype on it. I love Hamilton. I like Into the Heights.
But I like we had Hamilton on the playlist here, and there are songs that fuck. And Phantom has songs that like they're good songs. But I can't not picture the musical while listening to it, and also I liked watching it. That I just don't want. I didn't want to hear it. It's the same way I don't want to hear Bohemian Rhapsody like on the radio. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to hear
It-
Bohemian
it
Rhapsody
comes
because I don't like that song. But
Don't Stop Believing.
why not? You put it on the radio and you're
No,
bopping, dude.
I hear. I go, oh, next, because this song is not just music; it is an event.
Okay.
And I don't play events in the car.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? This song is not just a song, it is a very pivotal piece to a story. I'm not going to just put on this pivotal piece. I'm not jumping to the climax or whatever, you know?
It's so weird.
It just doesn't, it's a different feeling, I guess, that I don't want to hear it.
I think my big thing is I listen to a lot of this stuff because I can't afford to go see these shows. So unless they come to Disney or anything like that,
I said, I've only seen 2, so.
well, that's what I'm saying is like
Well,
then I
Hamilton's
won't get to experience them if I don't listen to them. And that's the like
Well, but
Heather's
that's
the
thing,
musical. Like I
that's
don't know
the
when
thing,
I'll ever see
I can't
that.
imagine, because I've never seen Wicked. You did see Wicked.
Yep,
This is a
went and saw
different one,
Wicked.
but I can't imagine just being like, man, I can't go see Wicked, but I'm curious. Let me just hit play on the whole fucking album. Is like, what? You're missing everything that the stage brings.
Yeah.
You're there. It's like taking it just for the music.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean,
maybe it's what's a good movie comparison? It'd be like if you were to, I can't afford to see this movie for some whatever reason. Let me just read the script. You know what I mean? Is like I'm taking out a very pivotal moment that is the story beats, especially. I just don't get to see the movie.
I have downloaded scripts, which usually is for movie I've already seen.
Exactly. I'm happy to read.
I've also ripped the audio tracks for movies so I could just listen to the movie in the car. Like Social Network, I just listen to the audio of the movie.
Dude, that almost makes me mad. I don't know why, but I'm like that's. I gets me cranky.
Well, it's
I don't want to
like
think
I'm
about.
busy. I can't watch it, but it's like I want to.
Psychopath, dude. That's so crazy.
The dialogue.
Dude.
If Hokey was here, he'd back me up. The dialogue of Social Network is almost like music in itself with the rhythmic nature of it.
Oh, man, movies are sum of the sum of their parts. That's it.
Sometimes.
You can pull out good elements that are by themselves
Yeah.
good, but to isolate one element for the entire film and just watch or listen to that, what does that mean?
It's like the reverse because before movies were silent where they didn't have audio and they could still work.
Yeah, it's still some of their pieces, and that it's lighting, acting, blocking, like all the different things. And music is that too. Music has more than just one note to it, no
Right.
pun intended.
And you have dialogue, sound effects.
Yeah, but it's fucking weird, man. That's fucking, like I'm gonna blindfold myself for this movie. Yeah, let's do that. Let's
It's 'cause I can
you know what
mentally picture it.
I haven't watched my favorite movie on mute yet. Let's do it. It's like it's just so strange.
Some of the musicals and stuff, I also think like, oh, if I was just listening to it, like I've listened to the Heather's musical soundtrack a lot. I've never seen it, but in my head, I'm like, how would I put this on stage, or how would I make this into a movie? How would I do the movie version of Heather's the musical? And so like I can listen to it and I can picture scenes in my head. So I like doing that as like an exercise.
Yeah, I guess.
I've
You're
also
like coming up with scenes that you've never seen though.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing of.
and then when I finally get to see it, I go, that's not
So that's
right.
that's the same as reading the script, right? You can read the
Yeah.
script and have never seen the movie and be like, I can picture how this will happen. I can picture the delivery of this line or something, and just,
True.
you get it wrong in the movie.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
They just
That's
do it
such a weird thing.
I don't know.
I'm like, man, I can't watch it. So I'm going to try my best to get halfway there
Yeah.
and just do the audio.
Or I never get to experience it. I don't want to miss out on it. I want to experience it. It's something special enough. I want to experience it. Like there's that.
Let me tell you about a savings account. Let me tell you I mean, obviously a lot of these travel to New York to do it. You know, they're not just coming through the city and you're missing it that way. But
No, but there's also like, there's ones that I see little clips of on TikTok where I'm like, man, I wish I could experience this. Where there's this Scream parody musical that looks really fun. That's like they do in a small box theater, and I'm like, I would love to see that. I will never get to. So anytime I see a clip of it on TikTok, I'm like, I'll watch this whole clip because that's the only way I'll get to experience it. But I want it. It's kind of the same thing. But anyway, for anyone out there that's interested, there's a concept album for Lin-Manuel Miranda's hopefully next musical, which is based
also
on the Warriors. It's such an interesting pull.
We didn't even talk about that. Just like, why?
I don't know. And also like doing the whole gender swap on everything, where the whole gang is women now. It's very interesting. I'm
cool
very
with that.
intrigued.
I'm cool with that.
Oh, yeah.
I just, because Warriors isn't sacred to me in any capacity.
Not at all. And I'm not going to say it's not sacred to anybody, but I think it is a property that probably isn't sacred in the sense of like, I think if you were to do, I'm going to do Back to the Future is a sacred thing, which they
Right.
already did, but
Then someone would be showing up to your premiere in a DeLorean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one, someone's going to come to Warriors with a fucking bandana. That's like the
the
most you're
cowboy
gonna get.
hat and a little vest, dude, show up
Yeah.
as cowboy, just rock it.
Yeah, that's the most you're going to get.
Probably. Then and you get a lot of people like, let's get the movie to play, like just a lot of shout out stuff like that. Anyway.
God, I think I might hate theater. I think you might be making me hate theater right now.
Oh man.
Which isn't true. It's not true.
So
Although I will say, there's a difficulty for me in wanting to ever go to a theater because I have the stand-up comedy fear of like I'm afraid for you to fail. I get a real, I don't know what that is, secondhand embarrassment,
probably.
I guess, but nothing has to happen for me to be afraid for something to happen. Where I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just don't fuck up, just don't fail. I would sooner put me on stage and let me fail than watch you fail. I don't know what that is, but I have it real bad, and going to the theater like scares me for that. I don't really ever get like fully lost in it. As much fun as I have, especially when they don't fuck up, because I don't think I've ever been to one where they do. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just am worried the whole time.
I think I have that, but I feel like when I go to a professional thing, I go, they got this. They're professional. There was a lot of red tape they had to get through to get to this point.
I didn't feel it for Phantom, for instance.
Yeah.
But if I were to say I liked going to the theater in Traverse City, that means I'm going to the Old Town Playhouse.
Yes.
Where I know half the people there. You know what I mean? I've met them or something.
That's a little bit
where
more
it's like,
concerning.
I'm afraid for
me-
Joey. I'm afraid for Joey to fail.
For me, it's weddings or things like that when people are like not performing, but they've got like a duty and things to hit. Sure. And when we went for Bethany's cousin's wedding, they all did different exits down the aisle. And one of them was the groomsman decided to convince the bridesmaid that he was with, let me pick you up and run you out of the hall. And he made it like 6 steps and just ate shit with her. And it was one of those moments I'm watching and I had to look away. No. Dude, it hurt so bad. The sound it made, everyone's like, oh, and then you hear laughing and they're like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't look at him. Then they left and then they came back in for like the reception and he came in on crutches and then he's like, oh, I'm fine. It was a big joke, but oh my God, it was so hard to watch.
Fuck, they get the crutches. That's brilliant.
Someone else had crutches.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
dude. That's great.
Oh my God,
dude, what a fun entrance.
Bethany was like, it was so funny. It was funny. Now I can laugh about it, but in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. I can't.
That stuff I don't mind as much.
Whew.
But the performance failure is the one that I am worried about.
Okay.
Like I've never had that for live music. I think there's a stumble fall that just naturally like. You're going to hit a wrong note. You're going to there's something will be wrong with music, but it's like part of it. You know? But for theater, I'm like, man, I don't know. It could just go worse. I don't know what it is, but.
That's fair. Have you ever wanted to do like, cause you make movies, do things like that. Is there anything theater that you wanted to like make? There's like a project in mind?
Actually, directed theater all through high school. I was a director in theater. Maybe that's where my embarrassment comes from. But my worry,
you're like,
I'm
oh no,
you could fuck it up. I've worked so hard to make sure you don't fuck it up, but you could. And meanwhile, while I'm doing that, I'm running light and audio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I directed everything before, but now I just hit play.
You hit the ones and twos,
and I'm
dude.
like, come on, here we go. I got you the best I can.
Yeah.
But because of that, I put on all things that I didn't know. Like,
Oh.
I never chose what we did.
Mm-hmm.
I was just the student director, because there were also teachers.
Yeah. What were the shows?
I don't remember.
Don't remember? Okay.
They were seriously so. I could tell you plot lines probably, but I don't. I've never heard of them. They were just random off the fucking shelf. So I don't know. I've never thought about writing or reading or anything in a sort of stage performance. I don't think about like blocking in the same way. Like blocking is good to know, but I actually only did it for potential film knowledge.
Got it.
To understand directing and directing actors better, but also how could blocking affect, where would I put a camera in the scene? Where would I, those kinds of things.
I always wanted to do a stage production of adapt Metropolis into a musical.
Oh, but you're talking about creating from scratch. Yeah. Okay.
I thought that would be really cool.
Yeah, Metropolis is sweet. And
Just
it's got a very unique visual.
That's why it's like it'd just be so cool on stage with all the, you could have everything.
Weird proportions.
Yeah. I thought that would be so cool.
Because the movie feels on stage already.
Exactly.
So it feels adaptable.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then it's
something.
silent into musical, which I thought would be fun. Adjusting up.
Yeah, I think there's some really cool shit you could do with audio.
Yeah.
To do that, yeah.
Especially with all like the robot and all the like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be so
that
cool.
That would be really cool.
All right. Do you have anything else for today?
No, man, I'm hungry.
That's fair.
I had a rough 2 days, man.
It's been a long one. Yeah.
The window's fixed.
That's great.
I mean, it's foggy. I got to Windex it a little bit. Like,
is it just like?
Well, because I think it was. I get the rock through the window.
Yep.
I talked to the lawnmower man.
Lawnmower man. Oh my God.
I know, but I talked to him. He says, "Don't worry, we're insured for it. We're good." And I'm like, "It makes sense. You're a business. You got to get it all covered."
Yep.
I got this thing on Thursday I got to do, which is drive to Detroit. So I'd like my window in my car to exist. Otherwise, Ben's gonna have a chilly ride.
That and just you have to leave your car in Detroit. You're getting on an airplane. So
yeah.
leaving
So
your car.
I could leave a bag, I guess, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll try. We'll figure it out. He can't get anyone a certain time. I get the call. The first person he connects me with only does homes. He didn't ask for a car window. He just asked for a window repair. A lot of things. So he talks about, don't worry. The insurance. I got it. It's all on us. We won't have to talk to your insurance. We don't want to do that. Let's whatever. The person that I get a call from later that's like, this is who will help you, is just a friend of the person who shot the rock through my window.
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, I don't fucking care who comes down here and puts this window in.
If the window works.
If the window works, the window works. I could take it up with you later if something goes wrong, but I'm not looking for perfection here. I just need a window.
Hey,
car's paid off.
There you go.
I'm okay with all of this.
Yeah.
I also don't want it to hit my insurance. Like,
yeah.
when
I first moved here and they were doing painting in here, and I was like, how are they just getting Jim from down the street to come paint? Why don't they have like a business to paint?
A painter.
Yeah. It's like Traverse City, the biggest small town.
I own this thing, whatever. I'm like, sure, man, but you just drove a Honda Pilot here. You know what I mean? And he said he went to the junkyard to grab the part.
That's so
and I was
funny.
like, dude, that's fine. I'll take a junkyard window.
Who cares?
I don't give a fuck. It's the right window.
Yeah. Once you clean it up.
But I went there and they gave me the driver's side. And I was like, oh, wrong side. We got. Oh, so then they gave me the passenger side rear. So I was like, just give me the tools. I'll pull it out the junkyard myself. And I was like, so my window came from a junkyard. Is the first thing I think.
I got it.
And I'm like, so it's been sitting in the same kind of car I have in a junkyard for God knows how long.
Yeah.
My car's 13 years old currently. 14 actually, because they kind of go a year ahead, right?
Yeah.
But it was in 2010 that this car would have been physically manufactured. So I'm like, how long has this been in the lot? And it's foggy as hell. And I'm like, dude, I just don't care. But the guy that showed up, dude, what a guy. He's exactly who you picture for the guy that's just the buddy that somebody knows that, I can fix a thing.
Awesome. I know a guy.
Yeah.
The I know a guy.
Yeah. And he was great. He wanted to talk a lot, which I was happy to do. But he couldn't hear well. He was 62 based on the quick math I did.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right.
But dealing with that was tough
Oh yeah.
today. It also fucked every single plan I had.
Oh.
I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I'm in Vegas. Like I have to be doing the Vegas thing. So having my Monday just completely taken away from me, and then the Tuesday fun plans turned into actually there's a little bit of work I have to do, and then you can show up at noon. I'd rather it almost be 10 or 6. You know, like that's a really tough time, especially because the podcast we just started at noon, and now we're doing it late, and it's 4 o'clock.
They fuck it up. We doing a car construction, says Hokey.
I think here's the worst thing I can give. I think his name's Rick. First thing the only negative complaint I can give to Rick is blowing out all the glass. I think a piece of glass ended up in my speaker. So I listened to music on the way, and it was like,
oh no!
And I'm like, dude, you know what, Ben? I hope you like the sound of my voice because we're not listening to music on the way down. Carpooling, I'm talking with you. I don't want to hear that buzzing because it's not there until the bass hits. So
it's like something's moving almost.
Well, I think there's a piece of glass in there that's rattling once the bass shakes.
Because the bass is what's moving. Yeah,
because otherwise you get the right song in there, you can't hear. But
just search up Spotify like playlists that no bass music. Just no bass drums.
Bassless car vibes.
Exactly.
Like, what? What do you want?
I bet you it's there. I bet you there's some form of playlist out there where someone's like, my bass is broken.
I can
so
just adjust it in my car. I can just turn treble up, bass down.
That's true.
I'll just probably do that if I really care to. But more realistically, I'll probably end up taking the panel off my door and fishing out a fucking piece of glass.
Yeah. Lots of flute.
The snakes following me the whole way.
Oh.
The rats.
Yeah. Little Pied Piper.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, now do you have anything else? That's it?
Do I have anything else? Oh, that all led to me saying a headache.
Oh,
that's what I have right now. I haven't eaten today. I just didn't eat food because it was so much weird running around and timing and this and I'm hungry. I got a headache.
I'm tired.
I got a lot to
Grandpa.
do. Well, too damn bad.
All right, cool. We'll wrap up the show. Thanks to everybody hanging out. Really appreciate it. Stokes, anything very last moment before we sign off?
No.
Then we'll sign off as we always do with sweet dreams, and we'll see you for breakfast.